shitty game that we're about to witness. All right,
Yeah.
hello TCL viewers. We are here for Week 6, Day 1, the Tilt Champions League. We have Team Jungle Control facing off against the Team Dads After Dark, captained by Control, and I'm joined here today by Tolson, my co-caster, and Droid, our producer. Tolson?
Well, you are taking it very officially today. Meanwhile, I am still enjoying the vacation that was Independence Day. Luckily, we have a
True.
few parties left as we enjoy the fiestas to come, but it should be an interesting match tonight.
No, definitely. Seeing this as this is a holiday, I do expect a party tonight, and with that, a fiesta. Both teams obviously really vying for a win, as Control's team obviously holds the tiebreaker over Team Kangaroo Corral, but with how Team Kangaroo Corral's been playing, Control's team doesn't get a win soon, they're going to be looking quite doomed. Blood's
I
team
mean,
obviously
both
getting
fortunately, let me pull in for a second because fortunately for most teams involved, the rest of the season is relatively decided as far as who's making playoffs. There's still a run for the top two buys. But tonight's match is interesting because of the fact that Control's team is one of the two that are really contesting that last playoff spot. And so they should be looking to come out a little bit more, I guess, with more intensity than I expect most other teams to do, as I believe the ones not contesting for top two will transition more into experimental team comps and trying to work on things for playoffs. But this is one of the last hard fought deciding matches to play.
Yeah, speaking of a 4th of July weekend, I was down in like some rural country and I saw some missing banners and it was like have you seen me? It said team mantra. Have you seen those anywhere or
No, their team captain Humble, I heard, has died. Luckily, you know that I just got back from my 2-month vacation
Yes, I
in the
did hear about
Bahamas.
that. Yeah, that was
So yeah,
very
luckily
good.
Tolson's back.
Didn't Humble pay for
Excited
that?
to finally. He did. Humble's parents paid for that, but you know, same
Very
thing.
very brave of him to
Um,
finance that.
yeah, poor man. May he rest in peace.
I don't know.
Pieces. Anyway, back to the important match tonight, Mr. Incriminating Fruge. Yeah, as you were saying, we have Blood's team versus Control. Blood's team's probably going to pull out with their standard comp, I think, especially as their success in the past week really showed a resurgence after some of their more messy matches in the earlier weeks. Meanwhile, I do hear that Control and Stranimal have had a discussion with their team and that they've really rebounded from some of their earlier issues in the split in the league and are looking to kind of switch things up, maybe throw out some interesting tactics, see if their newly revived mental will be able to stand against what, Dads After Dark? Yes, sorry. Dads
Yes.
After Dark, as they look to finish the season.
I mean from a talents perspective, Control's team should be one that should be able to vie for a playoff spot, and technically speaking they are. However, 6th out of 7th teams is not exactly ideal for what you're looking for. But maybe with that, renewed mental as you just touched on, be looking to take a, statement win against the Dads After Dark.
Oh, I mean, it's also a really almost paralleled matchup here, right? Both teams with theoretically strong top laners looking more at Constranimal, I mean, to see if he can pull his own against Blood a little bit more, or perhaps get a lead more so than he did in earlier weeks. But as Tranimal has hit D3 now, playing top lane, they are now technically equal. So the matchup
Wow.
should be pretty interesting. I know, that's what I said. But the other
Wow.
matchup, of course, is mids. Like, as I said, it's kind of similar across the board. Top laners both looking to prove themselves as carries. Mid laners both with Void looking like an incredibly strong mid laner, in my opinion, and over the course of the entire season. And Control, of course, captain looking to help his team to their match win. And then Rook and Little Garrett, both somewhat less aggressive junglers against each other that look more to support their teams by finding interesting gank paths. And then a bot lane that both just really tries to play passively in scale for the mid to late game team fights. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up.
Yeah, definitely. Can probably expect some supportive style bot lanes for those top lane carry champions that will come out. Obviously, Tranimal being a marquee gangplank player. Blood having a deep champion pool ranging from Sed to Aatrox to Gwen to a number of champions. So I'm really looking forward to the top lane matchup and the mid lane matchup as well to see if Control can really show off against Voy. As I think he's had some strong performances, but I think for the most part he's looked a little underwhelming, but he definitely still has that potential from what I've seen from him.
Well, we're getting right into Champion Select, so we can see the bands come out. I actually do wonder how much they've Dads After Dark have been watching Team Control. Because you touched on the Gangplank, but it does seem as if after their little resurgence that Tranimal has moved into practicing some of these simpler, more team impactful champions that don't require him to be as technically competent in the lanes in early mid game, even though he's played them quite well.
And one thing I don't like is the blue side Nocturne ban. I feel like that should be a de facto red side ban, but it's okay. That champion's very strong, and I think you should never have to sacrifice that ban on blue side.
I agree, and especially it's like Nocturne isn't one of the most difficult champions in the game, and it's really seeing incredible success across 3 lanes. So the fact that they don't feel comfortable first picking it is a little bit iffy in my opinion.
Yeah,
But their second ban LeBlanc making more sense as they look to ban control out of his comfort champions.
and the Wukong taken away from Blood, and the Zac ban away from Rook, so we'd think he'd default to a Sejuani. So we'll see what Team Control has in store for that jungle matchup for Little Garrett. I'd imagine a Jarvan, as he's played it a lot this season.
I mean, I can't imagine the Jarvan coming through because while he has played it a lot, I can't say that his impact on the game has been that high. I much prefer the Ziggs ban thrown out because of the fact that you have Control who's been putting out massive damage numbers on it, as well as the champ itself being pretty strong at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And we'll see what we have for our first pick for Team Dads After Dark. See if they're really looking to get one champion that they really like.
And as you
This
predicted,
is
Sejuani looks to be coming
Sejuani
out.
Hover and a Sejuani first pick for Rook Stout. And although I don't like it as a jungler, if you play it in a low econ way, Trundle is very strong against Sejuani.
Speaking of Trundle, ooh, they throw out
The
the Vigar.
Vygar and the Hecarim, wow.
Hecarim. So it looks like they really
Hecarim
are
for Little
mixing it up.
Garrett. Yeah,
I
this
predict the
team,
Vigar are certainly going to go down at the bot lane in the Hand of Tactics.
you think
Um,
tactics?
absolutely. I'd be willing to put my life's savings on it at the moment.
With Matthias being a known Yumi player, do you think a Yumi Vygar could be in the
No,
cards? No.
no, I think a Poppy Vigar is in the cards, as you'd say. Really looking to
Ah,
play off of what's the name of the ability preview? I'm sure you know it. What's Poppy charge? Or did I
uh,
get you?
I
Oh,
believe it's Audacious Charge. Can
audacious. Well, regardless, they look to be using the Poppy Vigar synergy with the Cage on top of the charge to make some really interesting aggressive plays.
uh,
Um,
I apologize. It is Heroic Charge. Sorry to all the viewers at home. And a
it's okay. We're
Pike
not all infallible.
to the Braum. So we've got Team Freljord coming out for Team Dads After Dark. Really,
It does look like that. I'm not sure what I think yet. I'd like to see as it develops. Oh, the
the
Trundle. Okay.
Trundle. It
So
does
this
come
is
through, so that'll
interesting.
likely be Matthias's. Yes?
Yes. So it looks not like Poppy, but they're going to instead use the Pillar combination and put
Yeah.
Matthias on one of his most comfortable champions.
Okay, so I really like Control's comp that he's built so far. I think it's very creative, and it doesn't really lock you into a lot as a comp, and it's very good against Sejuani.
I mean, I think it's really good, especially considering their teams and individual strengths. As I said, putting their bot lane on some really interesting things that I'm sure they have more practice on than the enemy team will have practice against. So that's always an inherent advantage as we see the final bans coming out, respecting Blood and Boy more, while on the side of Dads After Dark, they ban more controls. Ooh,
And a
Tranimal's
Camille
champions.
Fiora.
Fiora ban is interesting. Blood showing his hatred of the champion, regardless of Tranimal's skills at said champion.
I
But we
mean,
shall see.
if Blood were to pick something... Oh, and we have a Jace. I'd
Hmm.
imagine that's for Tranimal, but I think it's going to be held as a flex, is what I'm hoping for.
It is. I believe that I have seen Control playing some Jace recently, so it does seem to be a powerful flex. That being said, I still would expect it to go onto the top lane as of now.
Also, I didn't get to
Like,
touch on it, but the Braum pick into Vygar, I actually like a lot. Just for completely just blocking everything Vygar wants to do. And a Pantheon locked in for what I'd imagine be Blood, the top lane.
yeah, this is interesting, honestly. I think it's one of the times where I have less confidence in really describing a team comp overall. when describing Dads After Dark, it seems to be a lot of pieces that I haven't seen fit into many common puzzles. But
Yeah.
I think that it. Well, I'll have to see how the fifth pick really rounds it out before I speak more. Okay.
Ooh, Syndra. Very difficult champ to play given her lack of true strength at the moment.
That is true, but she always does have the simplicity of execution with the R and her ability to just point and click someone into oblivion. But as you
Yeah.
say, she is not certainly in the best of states at the moment.
Not a bona fide press R comp, but something of one.
Oh,
And the Kale?
so
Uh,
it does?
and a Lee Sin
Ah,
top.
this will be interesting. Okay, now I'm a little bit more, maybe even more confused or apprehensive about the state of how this game's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Lee Sin R5, if I'm being completely honest.
No, I think I would have liked to see the Kale, but I guess as it would have gone to Trenimal's hands, he was perhaps uncomfortable in the Pantheon matchup and not wanting to risk.
Yeah, Kale Pantheon, I can imagine that going one way about
Mhm.
99 times out of 100.
And so it will be the Lee Sin top, it looks, as we lock in a second. And so now the comps are decided. And yes, I'm still buying time to decide who I favor here, honestly. I mean, I think at first glance, I do like the comp that Control has drafted. I think
Mhm.
that it's a good mix of Disengage with the Vigar and Trundle that really looks to mess up the Sejuani and Pantheon's day as they go in. But as you pointed out, the Braum Shield has a lot of value here against the Jace, Vigar, and Trundle.
Even the Lee Sin.
Evenly then, yes. So yes, it's definitely be interesting how it plays out.
I feel like both teams' win condition comes from the top side of the map, right? The top mid side is really what's going to decide the game. Because I think personally, Vigar Trundle into Senna Braum is Vigar Trundle favored. That's the
Mhm. I would
to play.
agree. Again, it's not a bot lane matchup I see often, but even less specific, perhaps. It does seem that both team comps are going to revolve even more so around pick, right? Both of
Yes.
these can have really good team fights, but have even stronger ways of finding opponents out. They can throw out the Sejuani,
Yeah,
Pantheon, quick rotation.
you're looking for an insect, you're looking for a glacial prison, you're looking for a pantheon, Grand Sky fall in and lock someone down immediately, chain sun with the Stendra. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. It'll really be down on the execution of what I believe to be the early jungle impact on that top side of the map, as you're saying. I expect bot lanes to relatively handshake it unless their team looks to move around them. That being said, the Vigar Trundle combination certainly has potential, and maybe seeing that they've practiced this, they'll be a little bit more comfortable going aggressive than we've really seen in the past couple of weeks.
I'd love to see Swiss Army Cabinet and Matthias both try and get out onto the top side of the map on an early back, see if they can generate some pressure and maybe an early pick, because I think it's pretty difficult to die in that lane unless a large error is made, so to speak.
That would be, I believe, the expectation. Again, I can only keep repeating how much my mind is trying to think through some of the interesting
That
situations
lane,
that could
yeah.
arise. But in that top lane, something you might be more familiar about with that Lee Sin pick is I'm also unsure of how that early lane really goes, especially after the Lee Sin nerfs. Is it something that Lee Sin still is able to bully out? Because if it can deny that Pantheon its early game, then unless Blood finds some strong post 6 roams, it could be a threatening game impacting pick right there. But as I say, I don't know how much it really impacts the early game. Maybe perhaps as well as you do.
So the previous two nerfs to Lee Sin was a second off of his Temple Cripist and then a 50 flat damage reduction at max rank, which I believe you lose 10 damage per level. And correct me if I'm
Yes,
wrong.
which is pretty impactful as far as lane maxes at
Quite
first.
impactful because when you're Lee Sin and you have that maxed out E, just being able to step into that lane versus Pantheon, step into the wave and just zone them off, it's super impactful. But truly, I think it'll come down to who plays the lane better, maybe jungle pressure, but I think in isolation, Blood would win that lane.
That's what I expect, especially accounting for player skill. It's just something I'd like to see as I haven't seen Trent. I don't really pull out the Lee Sin too much. I think another important note for the early game is what we expect these junglers to do as far as their first clears. And that being said, I would like to believe initially they're going to start on the same side and path to Scuttle, especially as Blood likes that early priority. and I don't believe I've seen Garrett really look to play around that bot side early from memory. And so we'll see
Yeah,
how the solo lanes play out
believe it.
around it.
I believe every game I've seen from Little Garrett, he always paths bot to top side, favoring that bot lane leash into top lane skirmishes right away.
And so
As
that will really be important as if Blood can find that early lane control and look to move down for Scuttle,
a
or
couple
if they're just
things
going
to
to
note
commit.
from a
Yes.
summoner perspective: Ignite for Wojtek over the Flash, Control opting for Teleport, and a Conqueror over Garrett, which I do like. I think that's a lot more useful than the Phase Rush against that comp. I think he should find some good success with that if he's able to get a good first couple clears.
Oh, well, it looks like we have a line of scrimmage as we get into the beginning of the game one, with both teams electing for a 5-point start, not wanting any risks in this very early game and hoping just to scale into the match.
Yeah, Blood's team obviously known for always really taking things slow. No crazy fights really until Scuttle Crab or anything. No wards plays, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we'll see if they try and create a line of vision. We see Mr. Rookstout placed his ward and exchanged it for Sweeper and that Pixel Brush. That seems to be the only ward placed so far.
That does be interesting, as I can't truly remember Rook doing that too often early in the season, instead preferring to have that stronger early vision on that defensive side. So I'll be interested to see if he really does go for a slightly more aggressive early start to this game, electing for that sweeper.
And it looks like he's going to be starting the blue buff, so it looks like we're going to have an opposite clear start for our junglers.
Boy electing not to go for the futures market strat with the 4-minute lost chapter back that I know some people have been talking about.
Yeah, it's a strat that's really gotten a lot of traction since buffs to champions like the Ziggs to be able to match their wave clear. As here we go, straight into the skirmishing in the top lane. Tranimal getting the better end of this trade.
And I mean, I think
Cannot dodge
Tranimal
the
really
spear
there is
shot.
Tranimal is looking to abuse what I think has been one of Blood's most consistent mistakes, in that his level 1, he generally, if offered a trade, will take it under any circumstance, which he usually trusts his skill to make up for it, even in some of the less strong level 1 matchups. So it's good to see from Tranimal, but still electing that Doran Shield, so expecting to get bullied out.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lee Sin is a pretty skill check champion, and not really a lot you can do against that champ early if you try and run at it. Yeah, that will not always favor you.
So good for Tranimal is that he's getting vision to really decide where Rookstout started, but it really is a slight gamble there, as had Rookstout elected to start bottom, now because of that early wave 2 crash, Blood would actually have priority by the time Skull had spawned. So it is good that he ends up getting this ward and seeing that this will not be the case. As bot side gets into a little skirmish.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything too much. Event Horizon coming down, but the Baleful Strike goes wide. Senna stacking those souls up, and it looks like they're not opting for a starving lane. Just a traditional farming lane for the Senna.
True. I hadn't noticed, but it is interesting. I think they trust Spurg a little bit more with the carry, even though I do think I'd personally prefer the starving lane, but perhaps I'm behind on the Senna meta.
Also, I don't know if you've ever tried to CS consistently on Vigar ADC, but it might be one of the most painful things to do in the world early. So look for a CS deficit down there. It's Matthias getting the chomp down, but barely missing that Event Horizon, so they won't lock down Spurg.
But on that note,
We got a gank going on top lane. Looks like Little Garrett won't be able to take down Blood, still has that flash available. Ghost burn for Little Garrett. And just gets a reset. And it looks like
now
Tranimal's got a great wave here.
Tranimal has a fantastic lane state here. It's got to force Blood's TP. I would have actually liked to see Little Garrett thin the wave a little bit more, as Blood could look to TP back and crash this with the strength of the wave. And had Tranimal had already backed and TP'd, he'd be back with full health looking for this gank on the repeat to keep this freeze.
I'd love to see Little Garrett come topside immediately. But it looks like he's going to be finishing up those Krugs up there.
My fear now, though, is just looking at the wave on the mini-map, I do see that it is just slightly too large. I don't think Blood would have much trouble outplaying this 1v2. I think Tranimal needed to clear it a little bit more, and Blood will be able to get the crash and back off.
Wave definitely need to be thinned, as Little Garrett's going to be spotted out here. Oh, this is quite unfortunate. Now his base timing is going to be interrupted. He's going to lose a little bit of efficiency, but obviously Hecarim, much stronger clear than Sejuani, likely won't matter too much.
Control looks to be bullying out the early mid game or early mid lane, but Void keeping up in CS. Looks to be very little differentiation between the two of them at the moment.
You know, actually a 2 CS advantage. Void, don't prove me wrong. Thank you.
And that's interesting, seeing as Control took the TP into the more aggressive Ignite from Void. So seeing Control also get the early dominance. Oh, as we see just a little dreams of nothing going on in the bot lane as they seem to be handshaking over CS. Oh, more trading the top lane.
Yeah, Tranimal obviously hasn't taken that reset yet. Looks like he's trying to stack a wave and then crash it. I'm assuming on the next one. But we have Little Garrett coming down bot, looking for the gank. Oh, Event Horizon's not going to land, but oh, nice charge into the cage by Little Garrett. And there's a Pillar of Ice going down, but it looks like Swish should be out of this with no trouble.
Now, it is a little bit unfortunate with how some of these ganks have played out. That being said, Little Garrett has been finding the aggressive early game at the cost of some of his pathing. In this top lane, this is the punishment that I was really worried of, seeing as Blood got that free TP and Tranimal was a little bit greedy with his, knowing that Rook should be top side. Oh, we see a good TP.
Tranimal, I like this TP. The Tempest Cripple goes down. Rookstout's going to burn his flash. Looks like the Shock Blast is going to land. Tranimal ward hopping after him. Rookstout, no flash. Oh, but the flash to the skies. Here we go. Rookstout's going to go down for first blood. He's just one auto attack away, and he's going to go down to Control. It looks like, oh, and the flash kick from Tranimal, but Blood's going to flash away.
Unfortunately, great heads-up play from Tranimal, but I must point out the discomfort that seems to be on the pick, as I believe Shocking Wave hit a...
Wraith, yes.
A Raptor. I was thinking
it did, and I love this dive. This is a great early proactive play. Blood not having his TP up. They're going to get straight into him. Oh, and going to trade 1-for-1. A little bit misplayed there.
A little bit misplayed, but still coming out ahead. As much as I'd like to say, good job.
Great play. I love the early proactive play, knowing he doesn't have TP and have that large wave at his turret. Just go 1-for-1. It's not the end of the world. Now we see Matthias looks like he's going to get stunned up. Has to burn that flash.
I am curious. I'm not sure that he needed to burn the flash. Sejuani on level 5, not yet sitting on the powerful ultimate. But
yeah, no Glacial Prison for Sejuani basically means she's auto attack you very slowly 4 times and then you die bot.
But the pressure looks to be drawing a drag for the team, for the side of Team Dad after dark. Blood rushing that ninja tabby, really looking to, I believe, show his roaming presence on the map as he finds Little Garrett in the topside river.
Yeah, Little Garrett shouldn't be in too much trouble with no flash, and he's gonna get away with just a sliver of HP.
Well, I'll call you a genius, as that's your definition of not much trouble. So well done. Great calculations coming out of the impressive Fruge. Maybe ability names aren't all you know.
And you know, if you have more than 1 HP, you are alive.
But you are technically not in much trouble until you are dead.
But as we see Spurg looking like he's in a lot of danger. Event Horizon isn't going to land, but Matthias gets exhausted by Spurg, and now Matthias might be on the wrong end of this. So here comes the Arctic Assault from Sejuani, just going to lock down Matthias, and he's going to go down.
Yes, and again, so we just see constant skirmishes across this map right now. It's been really exciting first 8 minutes, despite there only, I suppose, being 4 kills, despite the number of fights. I'm not a big fan of that, though. I think Team Jungle Control really elected for that fight in the bot lane, knowing that their jungler was top and that this dragon had just been taken. They should have probably expected the jungle to be bot side, but I like the early aggression and showing that they're not afraid of looking for these early kills.
Yeah, definitely. And I would like to see them look for a few more skirmishes. I like that they're looking for them now that Worst Tactics obviously has finally picked up that lost chapter. But the early skirmishes when around like level 2, level 3, I think are a little ambitious for Trundle plus Vygar to really follow up on each other.
I agree. I'm really waiting for that level 6. Oh, now that he has it.
Oh, and we might have a gank. Here it comes. Onslaught of Shadows coming out from Little Garrett.
Void flashing in.
Void just grabbing a solo kill.
Now, it's definitely worth with the value of the shutdown as well as the wave having been crashed. But Little Garrett will be here to crash the next wave and make sure that Control won't be too punished for it.
Yeah, definitely.
As we see another fight coming out in the bottom lane.
Spurg's just going to get one shot.
And here we go, Rook Stout returning.
We'll see how much trouble they're really in down here as... Okay, here comes the...
Glacial Prison.
Glacial Prison, but yeah, not really a lot of damage as Rook Stout might be in a lot of trouble.
Little
There
Garrett
we
the
go.
counter.
Little
He
Garrett coming in,
does have the
stalls that
onslaught of
onslaught of
shadows.
shadows, and a
Counter
two-man
DP.
fear. And now the Pillar of Ice comes down, but yeah, wow, nice counter gank there by Little Garrett.
Yeah, Team Strong Control is really in control of this early game, I have to say. I think that despite there not being many kills from the side of Garrett, he's found the better proactive plays. And I think Rook has now spent a little bit too much focus on this bot lane, which I agree, the center pick is a danger for this early game. And that
Definitely.
seeing center go down, they probably should have reconsidered the follow-up, as they used a lot of resources only to get further punished by the counter gank.
Yeah, I completely agree. And ganking Trundles that Sejuani is really risky, given that Subjugate being able to just burn her armor and MR. Vigar can really turn around and one-shot her if she gets caught in the event horizon.
Yeah, and we see the power of it right there. Swiss Army stepped out of lane for a second to get vision control, and the instant event horizon from Tactics, just an instant kill. Easy to execute, powerful. It's what I like to see them on at the moment.
And despite the Dragon deficit, a nice little 1k gold lead early at 10-minute mark.
And CS pretty even across the board, honestly. I think this is one of the few games I've seen with no one really pulling drastically ahead.
Yeah, obviously
Except for Voy in that mid lane.
slight deficit in the mid bot lane as wow, a nice jump, and looks like Blood is going to go down, waiting for that E to go down. Well done by Tranimal. The resonating strike and the Rampage are going to pick up that kill.
And again, Little Garrett now shadowing Rook, but being first to the play.
I will say, Tranimal was looking a little uncomfortable early on the lead. It was a nice use of the safeguard into Dragon's Kick.
That's exactly what you need to see coming out of Team Phone Control. Putting Blood's relatively early pick behind is going to be one of the most impactful things they could do. And of course, as you pointed out, Voy's slight lead in the mid lane really being negated by Jace's 3 kills.
Yeah. And obviously it's going to be even further negated by when he gets that Muramana power spike plus Eclipse, he's going to deal boatloads of damage.
What's really fascinating is one complaint you could look to make about Team Jungle's control is perhaps their lack of late game.
Oh, here we go. We have a Pantheon ganking bot here. But how much trouble is Matthias really in? He has that Subjugate up, so he's got a lot of resistances to show for it. And Blood actually in a little bit of trouble. Almost going down, but Wojtek coming in, looking to grab a kill. Trapped in that event horizon, and it looks like it's just going to be a 1-for-1 trade overall. Very well done by the bot lane of Team Jungle Control.
Team Jungle Control showing a lot of resilience and being able to play out these ganks without giving up too much. And also, I just think it goes back to the side of teams that after dark not really having that early game damage. I'm not a fan of seeing them continually play around this, when essentially none of them really have what's needed to take down Trundle through the exhaust, through the event horizon. Not a single blink, like nothing can get through the event horizon here, so it's really interesting to see how they keep trying to force this without it really being able to work. Or slowing down the pace of the play. Let Voy finish that roam and dive with the wave. Instead of taking these 2v2, 2v3 skirmishes that just give Team Jungle Control's bot lane the time and opportunity they need to walk out.
Completely agree. It just feels like everybody's trying to do something that their champion can't do yet. There's no follow-up on each other's plays. And you really don't have the comp to just jump at the Vigar. Is Tranimal going to Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike away from Blood? And it looks like Tranimal could be looking for a kill here with that Gore Drinker advantage, plus his ultimate available. A 2-level deficit as well. And they keep coming back to this bot lane.
Yeah, at this point I mean, earlier I said I was unsure. At this point, I'm seriously not a fan, especially with how Spurg and Swiss just seemingly keep shoving the wave out. I mean, if they want to keep looking for these plays, let it shove into them. Look for the Pantheon R. Exactly. Or just look for just a slight timing of the play. I think they're just trying to rush the idea of this play before they have the tools in place to make it work.
Yeah, definitely. The concept of the play is good, but just a slight execution error is really costing them a lot of time and resources.
And as you pointed out, Tranimal's been punishing it, sitting in that lane, getting a sizable XP lead.
Yeah, and here we go. Pillar of Ice coming out. Spurg and Swiss Army Cabinet could be in a good bit of trouble down here. As Little Garrett coming down has that Onslaught of Shadows available if he wants to pull it out. And feared back into the enemy team, Spurg walking in, but it looks like he's going to be fine. Wojtek picking up a kill on Control in the 2v2, it looks like, mid.
Now, if we can, let's flip up to the mid fight. Yes, I'm glad you took over for that. As I was watching my mini map to see what was going on down here, as it looked like Tranimal got the best of Blood in the beginning of a 1v1 that Control got to first. and then was countered by Void, I believe is how that order of operations played out. I apologize to
Ah,
both teams if I got something wrong in that, I could only judge off of the situation on the minimap.
so I was just able to see it. It was a good 2v2 initially for the side of Team Jungle Control, but I think Control rushed the play a little bit by flashing over the wall onto Wojtek without really having Tranimal's communication or resources to follow up on him. So he ended up just getting bursted out by the Syndra plus the Sejuani combo.
I see, I see.
So
Well,
I think
either
if they
way,
would
it
have
looks
slow
like
played it, Team Jungle Control should be able to win these fights quite convincingly.
I mean, they have a 3K gold lead at 15 minutes, or about 2.5K, I suppose. And this is a really great spot to be in, as I really do favor the scaling of Team Jungle Control with the fact that they have that Trundle R to reduce the armor and make some of their more mid-game AD threats more lethal in the late game. And as though I love the Cinna pick scaling to the late game, I believe I have yet to see Spurg really put on a dominating 1v9 or dominating carry performance. So I just have a slight concern about that being their really only late game carry, especially with their other lanes slightly behind.
Yeah,
But
and
Void
here we
does look to
go.
be a threat.
Rookstown just repeating in the bot lane again. I'm just not a fan of this as a jungler. I don't force the plays. You have to develop them. You can't just show up in a lane and force a play. I like what he's doing and I like the idea behind it, but I feel like his time could just be better spent in other lanes.
And I just also agree, at this point, just take your camps. Clear, you should be up.
Oh, and a
finished with
two-man
your
stun
camps.
there for tactics. The Everfrost follow-up should be coming out. The Swiss Army Cat that's rooted up. And Onslaught of Shadows can be a two-man fear Tranimal down here for the play. We'll see if he can get a big kick out as the subjugate onto Rookstout. It looks like a two-man stun. Oh, and a nice three-man kick from Tranimal as Control picks up a kill with the Shock Blast.
And
Overall,
overall, sorry.
two for nothing.
2 for nothing as we see, but it's an interesting timing on that fight. So what I was about to say is I would have preferred to see Rook just take his camps, reset in time to get control of this dragon. But now the timing of this team fight broke out such that all teams will be up for dragon, but with key cooldowns remaining down. So it'll be interesting to see exactly who takes control of the resets that should equalize this early skirmish that Team Jungle Control came out ahead on.
Yeah, so as I was talking about Control's play over the last couple weeks, very strong performance so far in this chase pick.
I mean, very strong performance overall. Garrett sitting on 6 KP, impacting this early game quite substantially.
Yeah, he's
You
got
see
had some
Tranimal.
great ultimates.
Tranimal with a 20 CS lead, 204 on this Lee Sin pick. And bot lane, Tactics and Matthias coming out despite being 20 CS down with multiple kills and only being 20 CS down despite the repeated attention.
Oh, but here we go. The Pantheon Grand Skyfall coming in. Tranimal with the Dragon's kick. And Wojtek looks like they're going to go 1-for-1 after it all.
Oh, I wouldn't speak so
Oh,
soon
little
if we see
Garrett.
them re-engaging.
Doesn't have that Onslaught Shadow, so he won't be able to get out. Oh, the shutdown picked up by Rook Stout. But that Ocean Drake is available, and it's a 4v3 advantage. Oh, but
And
don't
this
walk
is-
into the event horizon. It looks like Tranimal's going to go in there, kind of in a 1v3. Not really the place you want to be, and it looks like he's going to always safeguards out to safety. As they're kind of funneling into this Vigard, and Bloodbath and Beyond's going to go down. But a great ultimate from Swiss Army Cabinet. Oh, but you can't walk through the event horizon. No, it's so doomed. Oh, and Spurg just trying to get anything. No, Spurg's gonna die on top of it all too. As the pillar's gonna come. Oh no, but a shutdown again to Rook Stout. The control with a nice TP in, but an absolute fiesta of a fight. Little Garrett coming in, has that ultimate available now. Gonna ult him out. I think he's gonna be able to chase down Rook Stout. Nope. Nice.
Well, we're really getting the fireworks now. At first, this is what
my
I was
goodness,
scared
I
of.
thought 4th of July was yesterday.
I mean, at first I was scared. This is what I meant as far as control, using far more key cooldowns than that early skirmish. This could have given up
Looks like
dragon
we're gonna
control.
have a 2v2 coming in. Oh, and Little Garrett's just gonna get one shot. The
It just
dragon's
doesn't
quite
stop.
low. A nice TP in from Tactics. Oh, don't go for this dragon. Team Jungle Control. This is not what you're looking for.
Brook seems to be
Oh god, no. And the Pantheon Spear Shot with that execute damage kills it.
coming out with the flash dash as
Oh,
Blood
and-
says goodbye to Tactics and sends him right back to the graveyard.
Tactics goes down too. But on top of it, still a 2k gold lead for Team Jungle Control. Just understand that these camps are gone. It's gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world.
And you spoke too soon as they refuse to let this stop.
They refuse to let the blue buff go down, and Control's gonna get shut down. Gonna go down to Wojtek, and it looks like Tranimal's gonna get taken out too. Oh, but a nice safeguard's gonna keep him alive for now. That outer tower is still alive. Should be all right. Don't take the Lee syndrome, Tranimal.
His mind is telling him no, but apparently all of their hearts have been telling them yes for the past minute and a half, as we just do not see an end to this constant fighting. But it looks like we'll finally pull out, have a little bit of a reset. Hopefully the teams can gather their wits and decide what they want to do for the next couple of minutes as we move into this mid lane siege.
I mean, after an immaculate early game from the side of Team Jungle Control, they've kind of blundered this early mid game so far. We'll see if they can recover from it, as you were saying, in the next couple minutes. But a few shutdowns to note are Rookstout having a 500 gold bounty and Wojtek having a 500 gold bounty now.
And this is exactly what you didn't need to see coming out of Dads After Dark. Staying their way back into the game and getting some key kills and shutdowns onto that Void, as he now, I believe, has the most gold in the game. So yeah, this gold lead coming out of Team Jungle Control seems to be a lot more split over their carries, which is nice. But Dads After Dark, with their primary mid-game carry and Void, having those kills and resources, is exactly what they like to see as a team.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. I think this the gold value on the Sejuani having all that gold isn't really ideal into the Trundle pick, though. It's obviously going to be...
they'd like Spurg to have it, but as Spurg looks to scale into that late game, it's definitely more on Void, I believe, at the moment to get him there, especially with the level of skill he's been displaying.
Completely agree. Control getting closer. Oh, it looks like we're going to have a solo kill on the Tactics, and a great play by Wojtek to pick him up. Really showing a great performance from him in the mid lane this game.
Team Jungle Control
looking for a flank. Oh, and a nice Dragon's kick, and but Spur's just barely gonna live. We've got a 4v3 coming out. This Matthias gonna pop that subjugate onto Blood, but looks like he's just gonna go down anyway to the spear shot.
And again, I think it's a little delayed, but it looks as if, well, Dads After Dark is gonna back off and reset. I really thought they might look to shove and siege just mid first tier turret down with their numbers advantage, but instead they're just seeding the mid wave. It'll be Team Control that manages to get this crash off and perhaps look to damage this.
I'm starting to worry for Team Jungle Control as the gold lead's slowly evaporating before their eyes. It's gone down from 3k to 500 in the last couple minutes.
Oh, we see a Rabadon second coming out of Wojtek.
Wow.
That's ambitious.
That is a lot of damage against a comp that just really wants to pick you off.
I agree. It really shows that he's confident in himself. I believe I would have liked to have seen him finish that Seraph second, but I'm also admit that I am not relatively familiar with the current mid lane mage itemization, especially after the buffs to the mythics. And seeing if that early AP is really strong with Syndra's ability to carry this mid game.
I'd given with the difficulty it is to proc it, a Banshee's Veil for Wojtek, I would have really appreciated to see. Just to avoid that event horizon. Lee Sin Q, Little Garrett just R-ing him, just like those point-and-click CCs, basically. Could be super impactful and just one-shot him.
Especially the MR into Tactics' Vigar, as it looks to be able to eventually press R and kill someone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But,
well, we're finally back into a little bit of a calmer game state, which will probably only last about 20 to 30 seconds as both teams move back to this dragon. And I'm afraid of what we'll see there. But after all is said and done, yeah, it's even. The game is.
Yeah, that dragon spawning in 40 seconds. It's really tough if you're the side of Team Jungle Control about whether you want to give it up or not. As Control's Merman is just now transforming into the the Mana Mune is just now transforming into the Mermana. So this is a fight you potentially want to look for. It's that last shock blast will proc it. But they have the scuttle control, so they should have priority over this dragon pit.
Well, even more importantly, with Vigar having position over the dragon, it makes it much harder for Team Dads After Dark to really find their way in. I'm a little surprised they elected to give it up after having that initial mid priority. But instead, they're just looking to move straight back to mid, and Team Strong Control seems to be stuck in a little bit of awkwardness, so they can't decide what they want to do.
Yeah, looks like they want to trade 2 towers for the dragon, but it looks like they're going to move towards this dragon anyway. As, oh my goodness, great disengaging kick. Oh, and a nice onslaught of shadows to knock back Spurg, and it looks like this should be a winning fight for Team Jungle Control. As a lot of shutdowns are being picked up, will Control be able to pick up Wojtek? No, he will not. As Blood flashes away, picks up the spear shot onto Worst Tactics and A. But all in all, 4 for 1, and it looks like the Dragon for Team Jungle Control.
And there we go. I think this would really show the power of the Vygar pick against Dads After Dark's comp. If they really can't find that pick where they're way in initially, then even if Vygar is taken down in the initial skirmish, just the power that at first Event Horizon just keeps them all there, lets Team Jungle Control decide how they want to take the fight. And honestly, I think Little Garrett's Onslaught of Shadows actually went a little wide, I believe.
But yeah, it went a little wide, but he was able to, with the Hecarim E, being able to knock Spurg back into the team. I believe he was able to get hit by the Shock Blast from Control.
Yeah, and certainly don't mean to insult anyway the way the fight was played, but even with the Onslaught of Shadows just going wide, still having that dominating team fight. I think it's going to be very hard for Dads After Dark if they keep trying to move into a position that Team Jungle Control has already have even some just vision control of. I think that's all it takes for the Vygar E to really be able to change tides of fights.
Yeah, and I think even with all the lockdown CC that connected to Tactics early in the fight, with the Braum R into the Glacial Prison, and the Vygar just not being able to be one-shot, just was like losing play for them in the fight.
I mean, we see Control now sitting on 3 completed items.
Oh my goodness, he had just the last Whisper before this fight. Now he has the full Sir Yeldas.
And that's going to be incredibly powerful, especially as Rooksat seems to have finished that Thorn Mail. And I guess Blood is going into
a Black Cleaver.
Yes, it looks like it. I think that's one of his preferred builds, and interesting to see what his impact can really be in this later mid-game. Now he doesn't seem to have snowballed his early advantage.
Yeah, these fights are only going to get harder for Pantheon as the game progresses. We'll see how he gets to play, but Control's really going to walk into Rookstout. A nice E out by Control's going to disengage this fight, but a TP in from Tranimal. We'll see how this fight goes. Shock Blast goes wide. Here we go, but they're still able to pick up Blood, and it's just a 1 for 0 so far. Matthias with a nice flash out. He's just going to barely make it out. Just the charge in from Sejuani. Tranimal with yet another nice kick, and a great Event Horizon is just zoning Wojtek out of the fight as Little Garrett's able to take out Rookstout on the top side of our screen.
Well, I think well, better late than never, I'll say. Dads After Dark really, I believe, identified the fact they need to fight as soon as they see Vygar somewhere else on the map, as I do think fighting to the chokes is what they've really been the key issue. Unfortunately for them, Team Jungle Control's lead, especially on Control, has been really hard for them to overcome. You see how close that fight is. But then really it just falls apart. Once Vygar shows up on the scene.
Looking for Swiss and Wojtek on this backside. Wojtek still has that ultimate available. He can potentially one-shot Tranimal as a nice pillar of ice to disengage by Matthias. And this Baron has been started out.
He's playing the way of the AD Assassin. He can zone off the team as his team just safely secures
this Baron's getting quite low. It looks like it's going to go down. Yeah. Oh, and Pantheon, that is not quite where you want to be, but a day late and $1 short as Red Team's already picked up the Baron.
And unfortunately, I would like to have seen them call to cut their losses, especially as now they've invested more into this Baron from Teams After Dark with the Pantheon R instead of just looking to secure control of that bot side. And especially if Team Jungle Control is able to get this scuttle and early vision, because it's the only undeniable vision in the game, and I think that Dads After Dark, even just having that, would be their best way forward from here. Look to be able to prep on this dragon and find a pick. But instead it looks as if they're going to be able to, I expect them to give it up, and just play safely into the Baron. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I don't know. Flash is down still on all their main carries right now between Spurg and Wojtek, really the only one having that flash available. But with no Pantheon flash or R available, it's just so brutal for him to play these fights. And I think we're about to see a Jace Siege that is really going to put down some pain with Vygar. As here we go, Spurg stunned out right away, and he's almost just going to get one shot. As Tranimal getting a little over ambitious on the backside of this fight. Just safeguards away onto his pink ward. I'd like to see, he doesn't have that teleport available, but he's going to grab that honey fruit to heal up. And here we go, the event horizons just keep coming. And I don't know how long you can sustain this as Team Dads After Dark. This is just a brutal poke comp to play against. The Swiss Army cabinet almost dying out here.
It really is Event Horizon after Event Horizon. Tranimal sitting on the GA. I keep expecting to look to see him make the hero play as much as I think it would just be much smarter to play it slowly. And we see a pause coming out at the key
and I believe it's because Swiss Army cabinet disconnected. He stopped moving for a while there in that mid lane.
I
But
too might have alt F4 in 5 seconds on the face of that siege. That would have been
yeah,
very frustrating to play against.
that siege looks just awful to play against. I mean, the event horizon goes down the pillar, and oh my god, it's just impossible to play against. I mean, you
Well,
can't.
I spoke about this dragon because I saw it spawning in 90 seconds, the dragon and the scuttle, thinking of the timing on it. But I may have just been in complete error, forgetting the fact they might just be able to push down and threaten to end the game before that dragon even spawns with this type of siege comp. They get one pick, and I think they can just walk it down.
I I completely agree with you. If I'm being honest, I don't know how you can contest
I
Team
think I
Jungle
would
Control
like
unless they make a large error. They're very strong, and that dragon spawning in 30 seconds, it's going to put them on soul point.
I mean, I certainly believe that if this game makes it another 6 minutes, then it'll be because of Dads After Dark really finding some Hail Mary plays. I hate to say it that way, because I certainly don't think the game is completely over, but I really do expect Team Strong Control to be able to have a complete grasp of this game without any major blunders.
Yeah, and that inner tower finally goes down, obviously, with the gold buff to those inner towers. It's a lot more valuable to take those now.
Well, I'm surprised, and this is what I do not like to see from any team. You do not have control of your jungle. You cannot walk into the event horizon. If
Yeah,
you want to contest this dragon, shove through the mid wave and stay as 5. Instead, they are just flirting with death here. As the second they step up, is the second they'll lose this game.
yeah, I do not like what Wojtek is doing, but regardless, the dragon's going to go down.
Yep, and they'll be giving up. I think this is the smartest choice. As I said, if they were looking to contest, then you do it a completely different way. But overall, I think this still is the safest. I just struggle to see with the comfort they'll be able to stop the next wave, as they still have, I believe, a minute and a half-ish? No, yeah, about a minute and a half-ish on this Baron.
So I just noticed that Matthias picked up an Anathema's chains on that Trundle. And I would love to see who he hooked it up to. I believe it is, yeah, Wojtek has been procced off by that Anathema's chains. So he's going to have a lot of reduced tenacity against him once that gets to its fully stacked passive. And he's going to take a lot of reduced damage from him too.
Is this the first time that someone in TCL has built one of the 2 new items? I
No,
believe.
no. Actually, my team built it last week. I built it on Olaf, and I believe Tokimon Panda built it on Poppy.
That is
No,
right. That was
Dr.
the most
Mundo.
useful thing you did in that Olaf game. We can forget about
Yes,
that now.
that is quite true. But I guess
Plus-
Dragon Seals are only valuable if your team's still in the league, right?
I wouldn't know. Now, back to a more important thing as I try to forget this distant memory of a vacation, I called it. We
Fair enough.
see. I mean, so interesting. Well, there seem to be a little lost. I just let their Baron time out now. Yeah, it's 2 minutes left, so it seems to a timeout. And I'm a little surprised. I think they could have looked to push the pace, but I am happy to see them play a little bit more safely, I suppose, and just secure the game to the best of their ability. I'm certain now that they'll look to just play this next Baron, take control of it similar to the Dragon, and really look to threaten any type of contest.
Yeah, I think the hesitancy, excuse me, in their play came from that last string of fights around the 20-minute mark where they kind of blundered their lead, so to speak. Obviously, it wasn't completely lost. They still had a 500 gold lead. From a tempo perspective and just mental perspective, they were definitely in a rough spot.
I agree, but it looks like the timing of this will be nice. They have just reset and be able to get back out on the Rift. Control looks to shove bot, Garrett mid, and Tranimal top, and they look to have control of all 3 lanes as they take vision of this Baron pit.
Yeah, and obviously timers are a little bit different. We got about a minute and a half.
Interesting, the Horizon focus for Wojtek on top of the Rabadons. I really... Oh, maybe I speak too soon as there looks to be a skirmish.
Yeah, I just think that's overkill. I really do.
I think it's early kill, and I think if you really want the Horizon focus, you go at second. Now, I can
Yep.
talk about perhaps, I mean, if someone wants to tell me why I'm wrong, I'm open to it because I'm not the most familiar, but...
Oh, and a shock blast just murdering Wojtek's health bar. I feel like this Baron is going to be... Do you give this Baron if your team...
No, I don't believe they can afford to, because it just guarantees the Ocean Soul, and then with their lack of burst, with their lack of ability to do any damage, I think Ocean Soul is almost nigh unbeatable for that team comp. Yeah, I think this game's incredibly hard.
On the spur.
I don't believe you can get Baron, but I don't believe you can continue to make this what I believe to be a mistake of just walking through the jungle. I think you have to try to stay as 5, contest a wave,
And
and look to find your way in
I
somewhere.
actually really like what Tranimal's doing. He just picked up that Scuttle Crab on the bot side. So even if this Baron doesn't go down in the next 10 seconds when it does spawn, I think it's just a smooth transition into that Ocean Soul. You already have control of that.
Unfortunately, he took the Skull Crab at about 135, so it'll time out before the dragon actually ends up spawning. So it seemed like it won't make too big of a difference, but I also agree that it's nice to have him. I would like to see Tranmos at this fight in the beginning. As you know already, the Dad's After Dark is going to have to contest this.
Yeah,
But
Wojtek with another nice Shock Blast bursting out Wojtek. And here we go, Bloodbath and Beyond going into Matthias, but not a whole lot of damage. Shock Blast goes wide.
No, it's indecisive, and it looks like it's going to be great. I can admit I thought they'd look to start, but I'm very happy they're not. And now Tranmos split push is being incredibly effective.
Yeah, and obviously he just picked up 600 gold on that bot lane turret, taking that down.
Of course,
So
at this
that would
point,
be a nice boost to him. I'd like to see him potentially pick up a stopwatch, but having those 2 control wards in inventory are a little bit more useful on these.
So yeah, it's just back to the point as we get into this, I think, last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But again, I see Wojtek's build. I think the Horizon Focus, with it being a stronger mid-game item before you really have large amounts of AP, I think it certainly would have been more effective, especially with how they play around these picks. Now, 3rd or 4th item, he's looking to complete the Seraphs. I think it's just...
And a second Anathema's Chains picked up in it. Tech. If he gets hit by a Horizon Focus, he's not going to be able to move for approximately a year and a half.
And I think that's one of the most underrated things that people often forget is the 20% reduced tenacity. I have personally tested that with Fruge in a custom game, and it does not feel fun, let me tell you.
No, it is just absolutely brutal. And 2 rather than 1 on top of it is Tranimal demanding Bloodbath and Beyond's attention here, as it looks like the Ocean Soul has been started up. I'd like to see an early TP onto that ward if possible.
Well, it looks like they're going to play it even slower.
Looks like Tranimal and Blood are just fighting each other there in that mid lane. As potential flank is emerging, and this is a potential 5v4. This side of team. Oh, and it looks like they're just going to burst out the Ocean Soul. It's going to reset. Glacial Prison goes down. Will Little Garrett be able to get the smite? As he is, and the Ocean Soul is going to go down to the side of Team Jungle Control. And this ensuing fight should be a massive advantage to them having this Ocean Soul stat check. It looks like Swiss Army Cannon's going to go down. Bloodbath and Beyond getting targeted by Control. On the other side with Matthias, as the 2 Skies is going to take down Rookstout, and it looks like... Yeah, and it looks like it's just going to be a 4-for-0 so far, as Wojtek's going to be found by Tran. Oh, what a nice little play by Control and Tranimal, as that'll be the game.
Fight on 3 fronts that looks to end the game. I love to see it. I do think, again, despite, I believe, the relatively intelligent play coming out from Team Jungle Control, I think the execution was a tad bit sloppy in the end, pulled out really by their gold eating Ocean Soul that they ended up point flipping. But again, with their massive lead, doing what they need to do to finish the game, there's certainly no complaints there. And they're going to be happy to take this first win. Certainly an upset, I believe, in most people's opinion, this first win over Dad's After Dark.
The Dad's After Dark obviously showing out strongly in games 2 and 3. The Swiss Army Cabinet will survive before the end of the game, preserve that KDA a little. But a great game 1 win.
Great game 1. Team Jungle Control really coming out firing on all cylinders. I certainly think, as far as an MVP of this particular game, I mean, honestly, despite Control's massive advantage, and perhaps I'm biased by half the champion, but I think Tactics on Vigar was immensely impactful in that game. I think it really just shuts down everything. Of course, Control being the most impactful. Like, no one will argue with the damage grabs. It's insane lead, really winning out that mid lane and impacting the map. But again, I certainly think the Event Horizon was a single ability that really shut down Dad's After Dark's entire style of playing this game.
Yeah, and I do think it's important to note Tranimal's play against... With that Pantheon pick, it's an early power pick. You expect to get maybe a 1 kill advantage or advantage going in that lane, and really negated by really dive against him.
It really was, and I think that was really well played. I think it's one of the few times we've really seen a dive top lane, especially that early in the game coming out in TCL. Certainly not something that I'm familiar with seeing.
No,
And
definitely.
Tranimal, yeah, pulling ahead early game against that Pantheon, scaling into the late game, finding nice kicks. A really solid performance all around.
Yeah, but that'll be a great game 1 win. We'll see if the side of Team Jungle Control can close out the series in a 2-0, or if Dads After Dark will strike back right after this.
And we're back. Welcome back to hopefully a fantastic game two that can rival the constant skirmishing of the game one's early mid game. As I look out my window, I see the sun going down, which probably will be that passive buff coming out for Dads After Dark, looking to turn things around after that game one. I know Frugia and I spent a little while discussing that game one after that, and so as we look to move into this game two champion select, I suppose we can summarize some of those points. But especially as we touched on, Vigar, we expect to see the ban coming out. I think it's insanely powerful against the comps that Dads After Dark like to run, as well as the fact that I'd like to see them drop that Nocturne blue side ban.
Yeah, no, same sides as well. So, yeah, I'd really like to see him drop the Nocturne ban, but they go ahead and pull it right. Now the question will be, do they ban the Vigar? And I think you have to because it's a safe first rotation pick.
I agree. Give me a second. Please keep going as I find where my stream went on my computer.
There's the LeBlanc ban. Pretty standard stuff so far. Wukong ban again for the side of Team Control. It seems like they're handshaking their bans for the salty runback so far. And there we go, the Vigar ban. Away from the side of
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see if that's the only adaptation. Oh, well, we see the Ezreal ban. I forget if that was our
Yeah, that
R3
was
ban.
that was an R3 ban last time.
Oh, so it looks like we might see already some differentiation coming out. I actually like this. I don't think the Sejuani is a priority pick because I don't think Little Garrett has shown any preference to the champion. So seeing if Dads After Dark have a champion that perhaps might be a little bit more contested, yep, that Ziggs pick keeping it off control, giving Voy a little more powerful late game scaling pick.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Control likes into that Ziggs, obviously being fairly familiar with the champion. See if he's got a trick up his sleeve for really how to kind of deal with that.
I'm sure his friend, fellow fellow captain, I'll take mid might be begging for the Zed pick coming out. See who can do better on the pick now, as they both, I believe, or as I'll take mid has shown it off against previous control mage matchups. It'll be interesting to see. But
it looks like we have the Anivia so far. I'm not sure if Control is very.
I said it once. I say it again. I'll run it back. It's going bot lane. Let's see how it goes.
Now,
once again,
with the Anivia wall, I'm hoping we see the Poppy as this R3 pick, right?
It's what I expect. I expected a game one though, so I could be wrong. See if they found preference for something else. I certainly would love to see what many have deemed a solo queue terror in an Anivia Poppy duo bot lane coming out on the TCL stage. I like the Sejuani pickup in the phase 2 draft, especially basically saying repeating what we said about Sejuani not being a priority pick, but still being one of Rook's best champions.
Yeah, definitely. The Thresh for Swiss Army Cabinet, not surprising, being a champion he's very comfortable on. So now we'll have to see comes out.
The Trundle again.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to pick Sejuani. I'm going to pick the counter to it.
Exactly, and I like to see it. I said I like the Sejuani, and that was specifically in reference to Rook Stout's ability to play it, assuming it might be banned out in phase 2 and not really having another priority pick now. But the Trundle being the immediate counter really does show, I think, that Sejuani is probably not the best for all of these situations when Rook is pushed off of that Zac.
Yeah, definitely, especially with Matthias being a Trundle player. I mean, it's something you have to respect. It really shuts down your champion's entire kit with his Subjugate.
And I certainly wish he'd respected it just to see the Poppy and Nivea come out. Unfortunately, it will not be today. Unless, of course, the little Garrett looks to take it in the jungle.
Do you think we'll see the Fiora ban, or do you think Team Dads After Dark will leave it open for Tranimal to possibly pick?
I can't see a Fiora ban coming out. If it does, then I think that it's more respect than Tranimal deserves. I know Blood has his preference and not playing against it, but I just certainly don't think with these comps that they've been running that Fiora is the pick Team Shown Control really wants. And it still is the respectful Fiora
still a respect ban. I guess with the... He's saying, I'm going to pick it no matter what if you don't ban it, so...
I can't tell. I think you cut out for me a little bit there, so I'm not sure if it cut out for the stream as well.
With the Jax ban from the side of Team Control, I think that kind of indicated we're... And the Jace shed again for Control in the mid lane.
And well, again, it's still a flex as of now, and I think it's one of those powerful things. It's one of the reasons why, and I'm not sure who had side selection in this game too, actually. It's probably one of those things that would be nice to know. but especially because I think Dad's After Dark would really benefit from our red side. I think making sure they can smell out the flex picks and get blood that counter might be really powerful, especially as in game one, it didn't look like they really had a priority pick they cared too much about.
The
Ooh, a
Samira
Samira.
for Spurg. Now, the first thing I see when I see that Samira is it looks very difficult for cancel that Samira ultimate.
And by difficult, can you elaborate on if you say that it's easy or hard to
Oh, it's very
use?
difficult for them to cancel it. It's very easy for Samir to get it off and keep it going.
Well, we'll
The-
see. That's something I do not believe I agree, especially with the Anivia, Hecarim, and Jace coming out, as well as I
really?
believe I believe the Trundle Pillar stops it as well.
Yeah,
And
but
so as of now, it
oh,
looks.
but will we see the Kale for Tranimal? They obviously teased us last game with it.
I think this game it fits in perhaps a little bit more nicely.
And we
We do.
do
It's locked
see the
in.
Kale. We've got a Kale set top lane matchup.
And now we see a Ziggs Jace. I think this is definitely going to be even more Jace-sided, I believe, than the matchup against Syndra. Although Ziggs does have that slightly stronger, some significantly stronger wave clear to move into the mid game. But Control looked to put himself ahead early on the Jace pick last game, so we'll see how that goes. Now we have a few minutes before we load in. Any initial comments on the comp, Truche?
Protect the Kale, and she will protect you later. Just get her to level 16, and you will win this game if you are Team Jungle Control. That
I
is what I
really
say.
agree. I think that the R itself is incredibly powerful against the Samir comp it looks to be running. Once again, I'm a little bit torn on Dad's After Dark's comp, as it really does seem to have that Zig scaling threat, but then the rest of the team is like, let's go. Like if this is
Yeah,
one picks, Set R and Samir R, right? They all want to go in, and you just have the Zigs looking to provide that backline damage, but at the same time, it could leave the or leave the Zigs relatively unsecure as his team tries to move into these fights. And I still disagree. I think that Team Zone Control has incredible zone control over some of these fights that I think Team Dad's After Dark is going to be looking to contest or really
yeah.
force their way into.
And with this bot lane from Team Dad's After Dark, I'm hoping to see the last game with the Samira Thresh obviously having a lot of kill pressure, and hopefully an Ignite from Swiss Army Cabinet.
I agree. I think that it's definitely useful, especially in some of the healing coming out with the Hecarim and Trundle, as well as the scaling kill, I believe. And it'll be interesting to see how it
Now,
plays out. Once again, a matchup we're just not that familiar with, unfortunately. I don't think I've played against an Anivia Trundle recently.
yeah, I can't say I've played against an Anivia bot lane recently. Uh, you want to talk about difficult to clear with Vigar? Anivia early, it's pretty miserable to last hit with.
Well, I had to
Obviously, the
check.
Q,
I had to check last game. I was incredibly impressed that he did not take the attack speed rune on Vigar.
he did
I know for a
not.
fact. I
Oh,
know
I
for a fact
definitely
that
would
I
have.
am incompetent. I am incompetent at CSing on said control mages without the attack speed rune. That alone tilts me into the FF mode at 15 minutes when I try. So it'll be interesting to see what he runs this game. I expect the double AP coming out again. And really, I think from a team Chongo control, they're going to look to run it back. I don't think this comp is going to execute too differently outside of the fact that they have that scaling Kale threat in the top lane. I think the rest of it really being the same core three champions of Hecarim, Jace, Trundle are really just going to look to play a more of a deny game. Like split, separate, deny, and then look to scale into this late game with the extra Kale threat.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Control can really control the tempo of the mid lane and create prio for Little Garrett on any bot side scuttles, I think this could potentially be an easy ticket straight to the mid to late game for this Kale to just kind of let her free scale as your Jace kind of like protects you until you can protect him.
And of course, I think the biggest gameplay adaptation I'd like to see coming out from Team Dads After Dark is, of course, Rookstout's early attention. I think this time, even more so than last game, with that Kale sitting in the top lane, Rook should really look to punish it, get blood ahead, and have a really powerful topside presence moving into this
Yeah,
early to mid.
I think when you play those aftershock junglers like your Sejuanis, your Zacs, who it's very easy to just like full engage onto a champion with, I think you should really look for those early dives. Try and put a champion away, especially something like the Kale, which is super vulnerable early.
I agree, and I mean, I don't believe we're going to see any dives come out, despite the fact that I agree I'd love to see them really use that attention topside. But I really do hope that Blood and Rook can really communicate out the timing on these ganks. As I think even more so than the time that Rook Stout spent focusing on the bot lane, the problem more so arose from the fact that the timing, the amount of resources that was put at different times and really without, I think, the most synergy that could have come from it, really stopped those plays from developing into anything more.
Yeah, definitely. As we are loading into game finally, get to see our summoner spells as pretty much all standard
Oh,
across the board, but a TP for our Anivia
we have a
instead of a
triple
heal.
TP. I cannot wait to see the frantics that come from it.
Oh goodness, it's going to be I TP back die again if I had to guess.
Oh no, don't run the Vigar play back in that bot side as we saw.
Yeah, I would hope we don't see anything like that again, but no, all bets are all bets aren't off.
I mean, they
So
did run the
Rico.
triple TP last game, so it's yeah, so nothing really new there except for the fact that it's now on Anivia. And even
Yeah. And it looks like we are going to have the handshake start, as per
of
usual.
course, I expect nothing less and hope for nothing more. No, flip that. It's always more fun to see more early,
30 seconds until
but
Is
nothing.
Rook likely going to place this early ward yet again, which I'm not a huge fan of, as I think you can get some better vision. Then with that ward, I think you can really walk up to that banana brush on the red buff and place a ward in there instead. So we
I
can see
agree.
Control showing his moves in the mid lane.
I still think it was one of the bigger risks, so to speak, that came out from Team Zone Control in the game one, having Tranimal really force that wave 2 crash in order to get that ward, as it really could have made that 3v3 topside scuttle difficult with the wave position of Pantheon, had, of course, both junglers started the path to that topside at the beginning of the game. But we will get the mirror this game.
Kale having that nice ether wing skin. Big fan of that skin. Super
I
nice.
used to be.
Great
No,
visuals.
when real Kale existed, not
When
this.
real Kale existed.
When real Kale existed.
Are we
The E
talking
sound.
about
Ooh.
AP Kale one shot?
We're talking about the glorious sound of Aetherwing Kale E. Thank you very much.
Which was nice. It was
smooth as butter.
It was so nice to listen to. Do you remember when full AP Kale was a thing with Lichbane, Nashor's Tooth? This was back in like season 4.
Oh, of course, of course.
That was one of my personal favorite Kale builds. You just absolutely one shot. It's Blood missing out on that face breaker early, and Tranimal opting for that Cull instead of a Doran shield.
Spicy, as he says. He disrespects Blood, doesn't think he can be punished early in this Kale lane. And it'll be interesting to see whether he pays the price for it or whether the Cull pays the price for him.
Yeah, Blood obviously vying for that early level 2. Looks like he's just going to run a Tranimal.
We see Rook.
He's getting an okay trade in.
Again, I'm not sure what Tranimal's doing. The wave is already pushing to him. He doesn't need to contest any type of early trade with Set. Let it crash. There's nothing you can do to stop this. Take what you can and make sure you don't put yourself to be punished by this Sejuani now pathing top.
Yeah,
And Sejuani opted for a 5 camp clear. He's going to be a camp ahead of Garrett first on this gank should the position look for it. It's risky.
Oh, definitely. And there's just no need to take those kind of risks early as Kale.
Exactly. Gold is irrelevant. Gold is relevant, of course, but XP is Kale's #1 dream in life.
Oh, and a nice death sentence out there from Swiss Army Cabinet. As there's the Samir W, as I was talking about, to block out the Flash Frost from Anivia. Oh, and Blood going to walk into little... Oh, Blood...
Forcing Smite, this is strong. It guarantees Rook getting this top skull at least. And with the mid prio Void currently has, I believe I expected him to really help.
Oh, and I really don't like what little Garrett's doing. Your mid laner doesn't have prio, your top laner doesn't have prio. You have no business being at this scuttle. Sprint for the bot one and pray you get it in time.
Exactly, and now they're matched on the timings.
Save his smite. Oh, this is not what you want. Looks like little Garrett is about to get double scuttled. Just let it go, brother. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt, but you have to let it go.
Well, luckily it does look like Tactics as of now has reset the wave position, going for an early skirmish, take over from here.
Yeah, and it looks like Swiss gonna take some pain in this trade. As little Garrett and Rook both on that scuttle, but Rook obviously having that smite is just going to be able to take it away. But there is priority. Rook still might actually be in a little bit of trouble as he has to Arctic Assault out. Oh, but he still has that smite and he's just gonna... Oh, that hurts to watch.
It really does, and I think this is some unfortunate gameplay and slight misdecision, if that is such a word, from Little Garrett in the side of control. I agree, you have to sack the first scuttle. There's no way you can just hope to
Oh,
contest
but
it, especially after burning that smite on the red buff.
completely agree. And I don't think he had to burn that smite on the red buff. I think it was a pretty big panic play.
It was a
And
panic play, but I respect the fact, rather safe than sorry. You don't want to see Blood sitting in the set with the red buff on the top lane. But of course, then the next play is to take the recovery option and just move bot, sacrifice the tempo, and grab that second scuttle.
yeah, definitely. And what do you think about Tranimal opting for press the attack over, say, a fleet footwork in this top lane for trying
Again,
to...
I mean, greedy. I don't hate it. But compared to the cult, I mean, it really shows his mentality going into this game is I'm better. Honestly, it looks like Blood, I challenge you to punish me.
Yeah, just show me you're better.
And unfortunately, right now, I think Trenwell is, despite the early bad trade, sitting fine. I think that Blood, from what I can tell,
Yeah,
isn't letting the wave. Yep, he's not letting the wave crash back. I think this is a significant mistake. As we said, will Garrett perhaps look for an early play on the set?
yeah, obviously Rook's out on a reset timer, so this would be favorable. Being down a number of camps, unfortunately, that wave is going to crash into Tranimal, so we'll be able to pick up that farm and EXP. As just business as usual in the bot lane, just trying to last hit with the Nivea. The Tactic's doing a pretty fine job, I'll give it to him.
Only about a wave down, as we see with Spurg and Swiss Army keeping up that pressure on the bot lane.
As I compliment him, he misses one there. But
Well, let's check. Does he have the attack speed? Or does he have the god powerful attack speed ring?
does he have the attack speed rings? I will tell you in just a moment.
I already have it pulled up. Thank you very much. Loading now. But anyway, yes, I mean, I don't think Blood, I think Blood has to, which it looks like he's doing at this point, let it shut back to him. His jungler's top side. This is how they can look to punish it. Kale has hit 6 now, so really the key area to punish is already a little bit over. But
And
we'll see if
Tactics did take the attack speed ring.
He is now.
wondering at home.
He has evolved. He has evolved from game 1 to 2 to be a more
He's risen to my
sophisticated
favorite.
being.
Oh, and
Here we go.
Got
This
that
is
ultimate
exactly what you like
ability.
to see.
but I don't think he's in any real danger with that ultimate up. As we'll
Again-
see if he greeds it and gets it off as the TP comes out from control in the top lane. Brookstout shouldn't be in too much trouble as long as he doesn't greed his flash. Bloodbath and Beyond still having that showstopper available,
Ooh.
not casting onto Tranimal yet at the very end.
Now, again, I love the idea, but unfortunately, I must say, misexecution on all sides, really. I think that, once again, good respect Flash coming out. A little late, he would have probably been caught regardless, but at least he lives. Wave's still fine for him. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, if Control wants to look for the counterplay, he had an entire wave of minions sitting far behind Blood. Unfortunately, the Showmaker could have come out, but if he's going to chase down Rook anyway and put himself between the turret and Blood,
Oh, and Swiss
go for
with a nice death sentence onto Tactics. He should go down here despite the Anivia passive. And just going to get auto-attacked by melee form Samira, but oh, unfortunately Swiss Army Cabinet's going to pick up that kill. Matthias caught no man's land. Gonna have to burn that flash over the wall and he will be out of any trouble.
that was, again, I think one of those plays where it's not necessarily respecting the enemy jungler pathing, knowing that your jungle will just also reset from top, and that both should be looking bot side, should show that Brookstat will be there for any potential counter gate coming out by Matthias and Garrett.
Yeah, and although a kill advantage for the side of Team Dads After Dark, picking up that early Mountains Dragon, quite nice, and we know we're not getting a Cloud Soul, so we know we're in for another Fiesta this game.
Another exciting thing, we'll see if the skirmishes over dragons show up to be as large as the last ones. But again, I think that this is important to point back, just to go back to it one more time, because it still highlights the same thing, is the timing necessarily, right? That wave is pushing back to Blood. They had another several seconds to wait, and the freeze is broken.
Tranimal
Unfortunate for
blundered the
Tranimal.
freeze, greeting health.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what he does here. He can elect for the slow push, which lets Blood save the TP, or depending on his current confidence in wave clear, could have looked to try to fast out the cannon, which is risky, because if he messes it up, then it leaves more frozen,
Then
but he
it
could
could-
look to
yeah.
force the Blood TP. So it looks like he's electing for the slow push.
And I think that's the right decision. Unfortunately, had a freeze of his own, but greeted his health bar just a little bit as Rookstout Tails old as time looking for this bot lane is Matthias not having that flash available. The Glacial Prison's going to catch him. Spurg's going to pick up a kill.
Now there we go. That certainly is more of the timing. As I keep going back to, off of the hook, hitting the Glacial Prison, making sure that it's at the right.
I'm not a big fan of this dive here.
It's certainly risky with the Anivia control.
That Anivia Glacial Storm just destroys minion waves. This Tranimal really starting to build a health advantage in this top lane. Blood potentially being diveable, but Garrett, not the best pathing, but we'll see if he just way after pushing this wave. You have Kalar available.
This is definitely not what you like to see. Set now letting a Kale scale only about a way behind, assuming he gets most of these, and under this 2v1 threat, I don't think he'll look to. And another 3-man dive. And I
think Blood may have gone a little too deep here. Yeah, and you can't go in against that Kale and Hecarimar.
We don't know. Damage. We don't know his knowledge of where control was. Of course, it looked as if they were setting for another 3-man dive.
Oh, and a nice dodge out of the death sentence by control. Very well played.
Well played. And of course, this was, I think, miscalculated by Blood, assuming that he could get the damage off on Garrett. But yes, I would have liked to see him sit under that turret and use the Showmaker to guarantee himself some more time. Because Set's one of the hardest champions to dive, really. He has so many tools.
Yeah, I actually... Wow. Yeah, I'm surprised little Garrett or Tranimal didn't get a little too aggressive and just go for that dive right away. And Wojtek also burning his ultimate in the top lane, getting nothing out of it.
I feel like we're focusing on it, but it certainly is one of the most important things to focus on is how this top lane in isolation is going. We now see Tranimal up in CS. We see Blood having rushed to Ninja Tabby on Set, which shows a little bit of I suppose almost lack of confidence. I think you had to look to put this Kale behind early for the sake of your own confidence in win con. And it's going to be more difficult as this Kale moves to level 10, level 11. Really uncontested.
I think the adaptation I would have liked, I understand getting the tier 2 boots early to match the Berserker Greaves from Tranimal. I would have liked to see Ionian Boots of Lucidity.
It's definitely interesting as he is one of those two main front lines, but they do have the thresh. So I agree. I think it's certainly more complicated than just going Ninja Tabby, so to speak, because I think that really leaves the Kale. It says, okay, you don't want me to kill you. That's fine. I'll sit here and scale.
Yeah.
But again, we see once again Void coming up with a CS lead. I think there's very few mid laners, if any, in this league that have consistently out CS'd him. Control, of course, sitting on that kill, having the good rotation. It's certainly nothing against him. We'll see if Wojtek can use this to impact the game any more than just a 12 CS lead.
Yeah, and despite that 12 CS lead, the kill plus tower platings to the advantage of Tranimal has him with a mid lane, by the way.
About a 500 goldie. Wow, we see 1,000 though in the bot lane coming out for Spurg over Tactics.
Yeah, obviously getting those 2 kills on both Tactics and Matthias from their slight mispositioning has really swung that lane of Spurg and Swiss Army.
What I'd love to see, Vision coming out across the river for Dads After Dark. I think some of it's superfluous, unfortunately, as some analysts such as LS would say luxury vision and rant about it, but I like the fact that they're really throwing everything they have to guarantee this objective control.
It looks like they're just going to pick up this dragon here. As Tactics and Matthias shoves this wave in. We are given yet another Ocean Soul this game. The second of the series already.
Control TPing, Tranimal TPing, looking to keep this freeze, I suppose. It'll now be Blood TP up for the next 5.5 minutes. 5-ish, depending on the scaling CD on those. Oh, it's
yeah, I believe it's still a little bit longer than 5 minutes. Yeah, so it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds right now, which is quite negligible, as not in tower range, Control picks up the solo kill on Wojtek, as Blood and Rookstout are coming in for him. Control not having that flash up, but Blood having it, and I'm not a huge fan of that TP by Control, and Blood's TP burned in response, and I'm not a big fan of that either. I think those 2 TPs just shouldn't have been burned.
I agree. I didn't mind Tranimal's looking mainly to keep the lane state in a great spot for him, knowing that Rookstout's going to move back top after taking that dragon. But certainly Controls, I think that even in the best of situations, it's iffy, and especially knowing that Set is right behind him, really showing that it's probably not the best to take that gamble. I think it's very hard.
Barrett on this Rift Herald. Tranimal being a little chunk, but he's going to grab that Honey Fruit, and he'll be quite healthy for any fight that may come out here.
Wow, just narrowly avoiding Rookstout coming in on that top lane tri-bush.
Yeah, I know. He just got the living timing out of him.
Well,
I'll
once
say
again, I
that.
mean, right on Blood's reset, I think that again it just goes back to the communication. I mean, Rook Stout's really moving for that gank while Blood is on reset, and it
And just
just. Oh, sure.
yeah, it just has to be a communication breakdown of sorts. And it looks like Spurg's gonna go back and get his Immortal Shield Bow here. So he is going to be extremely difficult to kill now.
Animal now sitting on that mythic on top of Blood's just components now. I mean, again, he's just scaling. He's as happy as he can be, and it looks like he's
Yeah,
gonna
no,
have
he is in a dream scenario. He has a 20 CS lead as Kalen to set at 15 minutes.
They've
I
given him the Rift Herald, showing that they expect him soon to have the priority in this lane to be able
yeah,
to push down these turrets.
oh, but here we go. We have little Garrett coming in for a gank top lane. He's not pulling trigger right away, but just a little hesitant. I think once you show on that pink ward, you have to add to the ward. But regardless, Blood will be unscathed. And yeah, but obviously no plates for.
For the kill, but the cull now has completed, so it looks like she will have had that advantage. But yes, this Rift Herald's relatively less value now, seeing that plates are down. I think I would have liked to see them move it actually more to the mid lane, try to knock down that outer tier, and really guarantee control of the map.
Yeah, and Kale's sitting around 1k gold right now. Not quite enough for that Leeching Leer, assuming she's going to build into the Rift Maker, as is pretty standard. But now that Tranimal's level 11, this Kale is just incredibly dangerous, and it's only going to get worse from here.
Oh, they've even given up the jungle camps, a top laner's dream, not being flamed for taking the Krugs. What more can you want? Also, I mean, every time we look back to the mid lane, it just, I have to chuckle. I mean, we see Control consistently bullying out Void. I think that he's won almost every skirmish, as he should against the Ziggs, and yet the Ziggs remains almost 25 to 30 CS up, depending on the wave.
Voidtech keeping it at just under 10 CS a minute. Incredibly impressive. Oh, no, it does not look like we have a TP. It's just a roam from Control down bot. Look, doesn't look like Spur's in too much danger as the exhaust comes out. Flash Frost dodge. As little Garrett having that ultimate available, he's going to go in. Onslaught of Shadows onto 3. Matthias going to flash away from the Zigzar. Matthias going to get ignited. Looks like he's going to go down at the end of the day. And yeah, he is going to go down to Swiss Army Cabinet. Control a little deep there.
And they pop the Anivia passive on the back line.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be a clean sweep with the exception of Tranimal for the team.
Just a 4 for 0.
Wow, that's going to be impactful.
Ooh.
Luckily for Team Jungle Control, there will not be any objective up from the move into it, except for, of course, this control of the Dragon Pit. But it will mean first turret going down to the side of Team Death After Dark.
Yeah.
And look, looking in to take these jungle camps, take control is exactly what I'd like to see, prepping this dragon to guarantee their path to the early soul. Or I suppose relatively mid-game soul.
I'm not a huge fan of the idea. You know, you like the idea of like making a proactive play as Team Jungle Control, but they just had a lot of component items in their inventory. Little Garrett didn't even have his completed Divine Sunderer, so he's really not going to deal too much damage as of yet. But I think you just need to pump the brakes on those plays. Just prep for the Ocean Dragon when you have your item power spikes.
Exactly. You know your top lane doesn't have TP. You know that this dragon's spawning. You know that these cooldowns are going to be quite key for contesting this.
But miraculously, took control of the pit anyway.
Well, luckily, luckily for them, what they did do was do enough damage that Team Dads After Dark have to take this reset and spend this 4 kills of gold. So it will mean they're on the pit, unfortunately for them.
And barring a steal from Rook Stout, I don't think he's going to be able to get in. Nice smite from Little
close.
Garrett to deny a steal from Voidtech. 2 dragons to 1 to this tide of Team Jungle Control.
Now, I think I'd like to see them move control into the side lane. I think it's going to be quite risky if they leave this Anivia alone in this bot lane now that the turret is gone. It'll be interesting to see how they set these lane rotations, as I think control could really look to pressure that more so than the Anivia.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree. So the Shock Blast going to come out on Spurg, dealing pretty good amount of damage, but that Immortal Shield Bow is just going to sustain her right back up.
We can see Tactics a little confused on where to be as he goes back and forth in that Tri-Bush bot lane, making up his mind if he's safe enough to step up or if he should try to do something else.
Yeah, I really would like to see Tranimal or Tactics look to freeze a wave here as a side laner. You know, see if they can generate some pressure, do the patented quote-unquote LS freeze.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the one thing you want to stop is at this level, of course, the threat of freezing is that you give your enemy laner to make the map a 5v4. And I think that having it set... Oh, here we
He's
go.
going to get hooked. He's just going to get one shot. Yeah, you just can't get hooked.
And this is the problem of this problem of the Trundle if you're not ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, now 1 by 1.
Yeah, you can't be there. You can't afford to be taking these hooks if you're the side of Team Jungle Control. You don't have the advantage yet.
I mean, it's definitely, as you're saying now, looking at an 060 bot lane, it's imperative that you slow down the pace. You have a strong Kayle. Just sit together, stop the siege, make it as slow as possible. And unfortunately, it looks like they're still going to be just, it's 2v4. They're just going to keep letting these waves pile up without much team-wide coordination. Just contest it.
And Tranimal being level 13, taking a little trade with Blood here. Looks like once he gets that ultimate passive stacked, he'll be doing a good bit of damage. Showstopper coming out onto Little Garrett, but he's not in any real danger. Control looks like he's going to be taken out by the Zigzar, but Spurg's going to get the last hit. Exhaust coming out, and the... Oh, Kayle ultimate being used on Matthias as flash in from Tranimal.
Wow.
As it looks like they've got him in quite the pinch here. I didn't see this. They've completely turned the fight on their head. If they can just kite out Blood, this should be a huge winning fight for the side of Team Jungle Control.
As
overall, it's gone 3 for 2 so far. Oh, Little Garrett, don't go in. Oh, but...
The Kayle heal?
He ends up going down. Is Blood going to blast cone in? I don't think you can keep going if you're Blood.
Well, fascinatingly, I actually think at the last second, ironically, not being scared of when Blood was strong, I think at that last second, Tranimal turned away, perhaps not realizing that I believe Blood's cooldowns were certainly still not up, especially the massive shield coming out. I think Tranimal could have looked to possibly kill him. That being said, I don't like to see the turn, take the 3 for 2. Swiss is sitting at full health, still has flash. I think it's certainly risky. That being said, with the shutdown that Blood is, and there being no objective up on the map, it's certainly not the end of the world that they did take that risk.
And a few things to know, I think it's a huge deal. Tranimal's Kayle was able to pick up the 600 gold shutdown that was Wojtek, on top of Worst Tactics and A being able to pick up their respective shutdown on Spurg, who is a 550 total.
Well, I think that fight really showed the value of the Anivia, right? Despite it being so far behind, it's similar to the Vygar, in which in that game it was ahead, but in this game, being so far behind, finding that one really beautiful wall coming out to box all of Team Dad's After Dark into between those turrets really gave his team the chance to turn it like they did.
Yeah, they really just could not play against it similar to the Vygar last game. Obviously, the Vygar being much more impactful. The Event Horizon covering just such a massive area. But the Anivia breeding similar results.
And now we see the control of the game swinging back to Dad's After Dark as you have the Ziggs now with control of the mid lane. You have the set quite far ahead now, sitting at the nice 4 kills, exactly what you like as Blood. And it looks like they're just going to play safe into this next dragon. Look to pressure. I thought they got the second one. I forgot they'd given it up. So no pressure on Soul, but just denying the Soul point to Jungle Control.
And Tranimal might be a little overextended here. Just path up. And it looks like he's going to get 2 levels away from...
You see Control fighting Blood up in the top lane as Blood takes the solo kill for himself. Now this is just going to guarantee Dragon for sure. I would like to see them just back off.
Nearly at full health. I'd like to see them go Baron here after that pick.
No. Oh, yeah. I thought you meant Team Jungle Control after giving
no.
No, I mean they could definitely look to threaten it. Unfortunately, with the TP and them being on the other side of the map, by the time they really get there and set it up, it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially with that vision on the Baron. I like this. They're playing it safe. They're going to guarantee this dragon. And Blood just looking to keep things aggressive. I like it. Let's see if he can finish it out.
And a good flash from Tactics. It looks like with just one. Is the Zigzar going to be able to? Oh, it just procs the passive. Let's see. Little Garrett's coming in for assistance, and Control is going to be able to pick up that massive shutdown on Blood.
I mean, it's powerful, and this is interesting. It's going to be, is that worth it? At first glance, obviously not. Blood ended up going 1 for 1 in spite of him having a shutdown, but at the same time, he does end up getting the Hecarim on Photo Shadows. He gets the Anivia passive out of the way. It's the Anivia flash. And he did not, in fact, have flash for that, so he didn't burn on his side.
I just don't think you have to give that up. And now, the question
comes.
We're going to find out quite quickly whether it was the wrong decision or not. This Baron's getting melted down by this Kayle. And the EXP boost she gets from it should give her roughly level 16 as the Baron's getting quite low, and it's going to be smited away by Little Garrett, and that's Baron for red team.
And that certainly settles all questions. Oh, this TP is fascinating, seeing if they're going to go. Okay, this is Tranimal coming in strong. He has the KO. Level 15 now on the play at 24 minutes. Yeah, and I think they just found their way back into the game. They have that KO now. As you said, XP boost pushing her to 16 in the next minute or so, next minute and a half.
Yeah, and from what I can see, it looks like Kale is roughly one wave away from level 16. Tranimal should ding 16.
Oh,
Yep,
has
right
it?
off
Wow.
that wave. He just hit level 16. That Baron EXP boost you get as a Kale is a dream come true.
He has a massive XP advantage on the entire field right now.
Oh yeah, 2 levels at least on everyone on the entire game.
Well, it's his show. It looks like it's going to be him to show what he has on this Kale skill, see if he can abuse the pick and close out the game with the lead he has.
Yeah, and he'll be able to pick up that Zhonya's Hourglass soon, which I'd like to see. His Blood might be in a pickle here with a nice Pillar of Ice. Showstopper going to come out onto Matthias, but he's subjugated him. Blood's just going to go down quite quickly to Tranimal's Kale. So Little Garrett finally picks it up with the Rampage. Oh, but Spur getting his shield bow procced. It's kind of all falling apart at the seam. His control with an iffy flash there. He's going to get death sentence right away by Spur. Nice onslaught of shadows, fearing up everybody. Looks like Tranimal's going to pick up another shutdown onto Swiss Army Cabinet. That's another 600 gold in his pocket. As Wojtek's going to go down to Tactics.
Wow, that's a fascinating.
Control one shot blast. Oh, but he doesn't have the acceleration gate.
I have to ask. I get the idea, but Blood's positioning on that play, looking to perhaps try to find the pick, but for no reason against this Baron comp with Strong sitting at this 5. It's now the Dads After Dark that seem to be going in one by one as Tranimal just flashes and kills Spurg with the single
I think this might be the game here.
I think it certainly will be. I think they're going to look to pushing in this game with the Baron and threat of Kale. She's 16, still massive, only getting further ahead.
Yeah,
this should be the game.
This is going to be just a last-ditch fight, but the Kale art hasn't even been used yet. It's just now coming out onto Little Garrett. As the first Nexus Tower goes down, Swiss Army Cabinet's going to be quick to fall. Nice death sentence onto Tactics to cancel that Glacial Storm by him. This might not be game quite yet as a Flash Flake coming out from Swiss. Tactics surely to go down here. As Zig's going to pick it up. But Blood, I don't think you can deal that damage to Tranimal. Oh, but the Ziggs Mega Inferno Bomb will pick him up.
So fascinating.
That's going to be a 950 shutdown.
That is huge. They did get the only really an inhibitor. As long as you have at least one Nexus turret, it's not really an in-game split push threat. So yes, they do a great job of going 3 for 3, grabbing the shutdowns and showing that they're still left in the game to play.
Looks like Tranimal bought the Verdant Barrier and redid it. I think he's still going to get it, but he gets the Fiendish Codex, so he's looking for that Banshee's Veil 4th. He's just looking for the maximum protection. He knows if he does not die, he will kill everyone. Which
the story of the game.
Correct. Yeah.
Story of the game is Tranimal's early game ego, and now he's proven it correct on this late game Kale.
Yeah, no, he's definitely he's backing it up so far. Played incredibly well, just getting his first death of the game to that Ziggs there.
Which really shows just how well he's played the Kale, knowing the fact that most teams would probably look to prioritize punishing early. He's controlled that wave, scaled well, and now he's the threat that he was wanting to be.
Yeah, that 5k gold lead has all but evaporated. It's down to just 1k.
I'm still trying to look across the items. We do see this game that Voy elected for the Seraph's third over perhaps the Horizon Focus like he did on Syndra, which makes, of course, more sense, not having that long-range stun to guarantee a full combo.
Yep.
And then let's see, the Collector on Samira. I'm just never a fan of Collector, but I understand its value for her.
Yeah, obviously synergizing extremely well. Maybe would have liked to see something of a Lord Doms, but I feel like Collector, with that just innate synergy, I can see why he built it. It makes a lot of sense.
Of course, and so now we get into a little bit of an ARAM. I think this is a little bit uncomfortable. I think Team Zone Control can just look to really push those bot lane turrets down, corrupt that dragon if that's their aim. As of now, they have super minions. There's no need to sit here and help the minions push.
Yeah, and that's the concept of just standing gold. Those outer towers, when you have an inhib down, those should be just free money for you. Just go take them. Who's going to stop you? The other team has to worry about super minions. And we'll see if they show some restraint on starting this dragon out.
That was a risky situation. Blood perhaps had a massive showmaker that they were unprepared for. Unfortunately, his team not in the area to... Oh, and the shockwave pushing Spurg almost out of the fight.
Nice little bouncing bomb there. And Wojtek get a nice little poke on Little Garrett as he's going to go take that Gromp for a little bit of health regen.
I think they're dancing a little bit more than they have to. They see Spurg, they should just start this up.
Yeah,
They have the
I
Anivia.
think you just pull the trigger now.
Exactly, you have the
You
Kale.
see Spurg in mid. They can't fight.
And then especially now is even
The
with Spurg in
Anivia,
mid.
the Glacial Storm.
Exactly, the
It's just gonna
zone
be
control again.
oh, and the Burger Flip steal.
Oh, yep,
But
it's
Rook
exactly.
getting subjugated. He's gonna just get melted. Yeah, he has no resistances.
Of course, now again, back to the mid lane. Now I suppose they're looking for that Baron control, which is more understandable. But especially, I think there's just been so much time wasted. I would have loved to see a bot lane push into the Dragon control, into the top lane push to the Baron control. Instead, they coin flip a Dragon. Yes, Rook's going to go down, but he's up for Baron. So really nothing lost, and it's just giving Dads After Dark more time to try to find their way into this game. Or I guess the goal is to leave it, I shouldn't say that, to find their situation they need to really turn.
Yeah, and I just
And
watched
to themselves.
the subjugate value on Rook's out. He went from triple digit 300 plus armor and MR pre-subjugation to 70 and 50.
And that's just, I mean, that's again, what I love from these bot lane picks is that regardless of how well they play and the leads they get, just the champions kits have so much inherent value with the abilities they have.
Oh, and the Banshee's Veil being procced from there right away by the Bouncing Bob for Wojtek. But the Scuttle Crab is picked up.
And so, and now again, it seems they're playing into Dads After Dark's perhaps best position here with the Ziggs. Just
we might be looking for a little bit of a base race here, as I believe the side of Team Dads After Dark may have been caught with their pants down.
Now, I love this. This is a great look. Being able to find that bypass right to mid, having
they're just going to get this tower, I believe. Oh, but no, the Mega Inferno Bomb has to be used. That is a massive cooldown.
But now we see the problem of not showing out that bot wave is their bot wave is in fact crashing the inhibitor turret. Quite massive. Luckily for them, there will be no split push threat as Teams Dads After Dark did have to reset and stop that potential end. But this was a great way to retake control of this Baron. But it looks as if they're going to end in a very similar situation that they began with, with Ziggs being able to sit over this wall. Control alone, looking to perhaps push them off this Baron.
Control looking for a bit of poke. Shock blast, not sure if it landed. Oh, and Trainel is going to get hooked right away. This could be huge, but a nice onslaught of shadows is going to melt everyone. It looks like Blood going to try and showstopper Little Garrett, but it's not going to work. Looks like Team Jungle Control's winning this fight so far with a 1-for-1 overall. Oh, and a nice shock blast there by Control. Spurg's going to have virtually no shield if that shield bow pops, and it will not. Rookstout just gets a little too deep.
Little Garrett with the fascinating bait of the charge there. I love that. Walking in, seeing the Ziggs bombs walking out, and just mind controlling Rook.
Swiss, you are up to way too close. But we could be looking at an in-game scenario as Control flashes in. Spurg's going to go down to the charge. Oh, but he charges straight onto the minefield. As Wojtek's going to be chased down by Tranimal, and a nice flash away will save his life. Inhib going down.
This game is just getting bloody and bloodier, I guess. I don't know when anything else is happening except constant fighting. I love the macro moves coming out from Team Jungle Control to look for that back at the Baron. But yeah, at the end of the day, all thinking aside, it looks like both teams are just throwing down what they have and hoping to come out on top.
Yeah, and Little Garrett not picking up that dragon 3 minutes ago might come back to haunt him quite soon, as Team Dads After Dark is on the soul point. We'll be able to see if they can get the soul now.
Now this is a comp where Ocean Soul would make a significant difference. Seeing again with the same problem that Team Dads After Dark had last game with the lack of burst damage. Ocean Soul against this Kale, Jace, and Anivia will be incredibly valuable, especially as we reach this late game.
Definitely.
And I'm looking as the level lead still remains massive for Trano. Blood does seem to be catching up. Voy as well, staying at that level 16. And as this lead, despite Kale already being at 16, this lead might just become more and more irrelevant as the game goes on. It's going to be one good team fight, one good pick that really looks to end this game.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Again, this focus on the mid lane. This focus on the mid lane just confuses me. There's both side lanes to play. Dragon up in a minute.
Yeah, that bot outer tower is still out. Just go take free gold.
Exactly. Take the vision control. There is nothing to gain here. You are only gathering less XP for yourself, splitting the XP 5 waves. Instead of just making sure you have control of these objectives, play it slowly with the side waves, take the gold on the table. But instead it looks as if there's going to handshake until a dragon spawns.
Yeah, which I don't love to see, given that Wojtek was able to steal out that last one. If he can do it once, he'll do it again, but maybe... I'd like to
Again,
see
more
it.
indecisiveness. Just sitting this. They've had now mid control with the inhibitor for a total of like 8 minutes. And of this current inhibitor, about 2 to 3, and neither objective control from it. They finally seem
Oh,
to be moving into Baron, but they have
but
already lost the scuttle control.
it just seems so late.
And they're
It
giving up
just seems
Ocean Soul
they
for
want to
it.
trade Baron for Ocean Soul. But I really don't like the move here by Team Dads After Dark. Just take the Ocean Soul. It's completely
Again.
free.
Wow,
As
the
this Baron's
damage
going down low, it's down to 4K. The
Well, it does
Anivia
look like
Wall's
they'll
going
be
to
in
be able to
time.
zone it out. No Mega Inferno Bomb and a nice Glacial Prison onto Tactics, but he's going to be able to zone it away. And Kalard landing onto 4. As here comes the Showstop onto the backline. Matthias Von Well's going to go down first. Looks like Little Garrett's going to go down as well. And hook onto Tactics. And here we go. We've got, it just looks like a recall.
Well, I mean, it definitely was. It
Tranimal.
turns out the right idea. They got to that Baron in time. I think that I really dislike the play coming out of Team Strong Control for the past couple of minutes, especially knowing that Teams After Dark have the scuttle control there. See, you started. And then just giving Ziggs the massive Super Mega Inferno Bomb on top of the reduced armor and MR from the Baron, when they have complete control over the past almost 10 minutes of this game. And now they've given up both
Yeah, it looks
Baron
like they're just
and
going
the
to get
Ocean
the
Soul.
Baron and the Ocean Soul.
Again, great fight. Have to give props where it's due. We can't say that Team Strong Control has just made some relatively poor decisions. Team Blood, Team Dads After Dark, really finding that opportunity, knowing the mistakes as they happen. Blood finding a strong presence in that team fight with, of course, Voi's bomb, Voi's ultimate there, massively. I believe it hit all 5 or at least 4 members, and it really started that fight off with a bang.
Voitech becoming a 1,000 gold shutdown. He has been just massive in both games we've seen.
He really has. He's really controlled not being able to push despite the solo kill early. Push that lead like he did the last game. He looked like a different champion this game despite it both having that strong lane on Jace.
Yeah, and there's just a pretty big lack of anti-heal for the side of Team Jungle Control against this Ocean Soul too. It's going to be incredibly difficult
I
for
agree.
them to deal with all the healing to come out. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's difficult. It's only getting more. Now, this time, I certainly like to see the 5-man presence coming out from Teams After Dark in the mid lane here, pushing against those supers with the Baron, making sure that they just have complete control. And we'll see what they can do with it now that they're in range of the game.
And Swiss just fishing with these death sentences, just trying to hit anybody. If anybody gets hit with a death sentence at this stage of the game, they just pop like a balloon.
And Blood will be able to find that knockback on set should that hook land. It's certainly just no chance of living.
And the Glacial Storm really putting a damper on the siege, though. It's really denying Blood and Rook from walking up. As Spur gonna get somewhat caught there from a nice Anivia wall, but
great lantern coming out to keep you safe.
Yeah, great lantern from Swiss.
And it looks as if this inhibitor turret will fall on the next wave, and they'll be giving up the inhibitor as well. Now, of course,
finally.
at this point, I think I'd love to see Blood's Team Dads After Dark reset, perhaps.
It looks like the
Okay, they're gonna take the free
top
turret. That's for Elder not up for 4 minutes. Of course, this makes sense. They're still at full health resources. Shove this, look for the double inhibitor, and then they're just moving bot and taking complete control in preparation for that Elder.
Yep.
This is some great play. Now we see the chainsaw being completed for control. So now we have that anti-heal you'd like to have seen. Is it enough? We'll find out. But this 5-man Baron comp is just tearing down these turrets now.
Yeah, and it looks like Blood's looking for a TP back here.
Oh, he has to
and
stop
it looks like Tranimal.
push.
Yeah, it looks like Tranimal's opting to split push this. Tranimal
will
not be able to win out this 1v1.
But we'll see. Should he find the way to?
Then it'll be really fast. Game-ending play.
Especially if they can look to stop these backs, make sure Blood doesn't get any help. It does look like Blood is a little hesitant to go in on him. While they just clear the way. And yeah, wow. Tranimal with the heads-up play. Really finding that inhibitor. Now bot lane turret under pressure. At one hand, I like it. I think that it was perhaps almost too safe. I think Blood could have looked to split push bot. And even if they give up the mid lane inhibitor, to really threaten all 3 inhibitors in the game end. Just take the 5v4, shove with Baron.
The TP by Tranimal. It looks like they're just going to pull the trigger. As Voitek's just going to get one-shot by Little Garrett. And Spurg and Swiss Army Captain are just by themselves on the back end of this fight. As Spurg is starting to go low, he has that Guardian Angel available, I believe, but he's going to go down. That's going to be procced. As Blood going in, looks like he's got a massive W onto everyone. As Tranimal starting to get melted down, Spurg just doesn't take damage.
And they're just
gonna kill everyone.
That was a fantastic look. Using the time blood spins, going mid, finding that 5v4 play starts off so well. But unfortunately for them, the comp at this point, the 5v5 team fighting, and Blood's massive impact in that last fight. I believe finding a four-man pull. Please correct me on that ability, as you usually do.
Face breaker.
A full four-man face breaker into the W, into the end of the game. And so it looks like we will be, in fact, getting that game 3.
Yeah, I believe that final haymaker literally one-shot tactics. He just had no chance to do anything. It looks like we are going to a game 3.
So unfortunately, despite perhaps all that's when Blood shows up massive on the set and says, no, I'm the scaling champion, and actually helps turn the game around for his team. Of course, not to ignore anyone else's impact. Voy, massive on the Ziggs. I mean, it's easy to see Set's impact on team fights, but Voy, look at that damage, just keeping the game under control. Spurg and Swiss being able to control that bot lane, really completely remove the impact of the Anivia and Trundle for first at least 20 minutes before really forcing for a couple good Rs here and there. And then other than that, I mean, really, some heads-up ganks from Brook. I thought the timing was much stronger.
I'll be curious to see if they choose to change any of the comps. Maybe a Samira ban for the side of Team Jungle Control to try and like negate the ADC, because that's really what it felt like kneecapped the side of Team Jungle Control.
I mean, ultimately, I do not believe this was an issue of comp as much as I think the significant amount of lack of action from that mid-game control, that mid-lane lead that Control had over the game. Control and Co, I should say. As far as, I mean, they had the game entirely under their control. They had massive leads.
Yeah.
They had the KL level 16, 2+ level lead, and they really just sat mid. It was like they were very indecisive, not knowing the best way of going about ending this game, and it punished them.
Yeah, but we will see who can recover and take this final game 3. We will be back in a couple of minutes after a quick break.
And
Alrighty.
we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to Game 3 of a pretty banger matchup we've had so far between Team Jungle Control and Team Dads After Dark. Dads After Dark obviously taking that last game, as we're finally going to have a side switch of Team Blue side and Team Dads After Dark going red side.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know who had side selection this game, but it seems to be an interesting adaptation. We'll see who thought it was more desirable and who comes out on top from it. I like this. I believe for the side of blood, he doesn't get the counter pick. Lets him see if he can work his way and have that stronger early game impact that he probably should have had last game.
Yeah, no, and you think bans will stay the same, or do you think they'll shake things up?
I mean, now I expect to see the red side Nocturne ban. I think
Yeah.
that's an instant B1 if it doesn't come through. The question is, what do you give up for it? I think the Vigar has to stay. I think the Nocturne has to go. And then I'm not sure. I think on the side of control, I don't think things change that much. I don't think there's a priority pick they really mind. I don't think that game was
And I think
comps. I
for
think they're going to be
Spur,
safe.
do you think he's going to opt into getting into maybe a Swain? It's been pretty popular.
Berg, I don't believe I've seen either of them play it. I think
Sorry,
I would love to see it.
Tactics.
Tactics, I believe I have seen Tactics play it once or twice. I think their comfort is certainly not in the way of Swain, and here comes the Nocturne ban.
Yep.
But I don't think his comfort is on the Swain, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him pull it out. Otherwise, let's see if bans stay the same here. We see the same for control with the Wukong and Zac being thrown out right away.
And
Yep.
LeBlanc. Looks like we might be looking at the same picks, and sorry, just the rather the same bands. It's the Samira ban. A big
Samira
fan of
is
that.
thrown out.
Yeah.
I am. I guess I thought it gave him too much trouble in lane. Am unsure about what the most important part is. Yep, and there comes the Vigar.
I
Pretty
just don't think they had a
predictable.
great grasp of how to play against it and just how to deal with it in lane as a whole.
And definitely fair. There's no issue with it. Although they do give up the Ezreal, which I think is very strong. Still, even after the Divine Thunder and nerfs, and it's still one of those safest picks. Now, some of those perhaps cheesier tactics, finding the Nivea or the Vigar, it's taken off the table. It makes Ezreal a little bit easier to play against, or makes it easier for the Ezreal to play against.
I'm assuming, wow, Rook is going to opt for the Hecarim denial pick this game.
He's switching out, and I think that's good. I don't think the Sejuani is anything inherent about the champion that impacts Rook's gameplay, so I like this. Putting Garrett on an even more uncomfortable pick.
Yeah, and I really didn't like that he continued to pick Sejuani into the knowing waiting arms of the Trundle pick from Matthias.
Mhm.
So it's really good to see that adaptation. As the Volibear champion, Little Garrett has played a decent bit this split already. It's going to come out.
Yep, and so far, I as of now believe Blood is coming out ahead in the first two picks. Of course, the Ziggs being super powerful, very influential, but I prefer the Hecarim over the Volibear, especially currently with how both teams have been playing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. And we'll see what rounds up their first rotation. Really?
Morgana.
Morgana. Quite interesting.
It's now it definitely seems like it's all over the map right here, right? You have Morgana looking for that pick comp, looking for the really hyper carry backline to protect. But
And
then
now
the
that
Volibear wants to run in, and the Ziggs poke comp. So it seems all over the table there at the first three picks coming out.
I really wish Swiss would have strayed away from comfort and gone for, I don't know, something different against the Morgana. Those death sentences do become a lot harder to land. He has shown that he can easily just go around it and just
It's
find those
definitely his most
hooks.
played. It's his most played. He's his most comfortable. I think he does look incredible on it. It does pick right into the hands of control, but at this point, I mean, I really don't think that the Morgana, despite being a massive lane counter, is necessarily going to make this comp terribly difficult for Thresh to play against. They do have the Volibear ultimate coming through as well as the Spell Shield, so there are ways to play around Thresh. But yes, as far as it not being an optimal pick in theoretical matchups, his comfort on the champion stands to be shown.
And the Fiora ban has been exchanged for the Jace ban these past two games.
The
The
only two words I
Diana
have about the
being picked
Jace
for
ban,
Wojtek.
yeah, only comment on the Jace ban is about time. I think that banning it after game one was by far the best option, especially before they had a counter pick here. But they played against it well, and now we'll see. Perhaps we'll all be proven wrong, and Tran will whip out the Fiora pick.
Yeah, I'd really. It would be awesome to see control picking that launcher
Interesting.
animal. Just do it,
Interesting.
please.
Well, I mean, if we look at this, is it going to be the Ziggs thrown bot lane with control on the Silas? It looks like that's what it will be.
It looks like Lee Sin. Lee blinded,
As we are waiting, I mean, I believe he will at this
and I
point. Is anything else
time to
that
see
says?
if Blood has a great counter pick.
I mean,
Lee
luckily,
Sin.
necessarily the Samira ban for them does mean that Blood's going to have a few more options on the table, perhaps. And we'll see what he goes with here. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs back. Oh, it's going to be the comfort on the Darius, it looks like.
Yep.
Now, I must
And
say, at first glance, if this goes
I'm
through,
not a huge fan of this Darius pick.
I'm not, honestly, but it is comfort. I think that running the setback is equally as good, if not better. But he's comfortable on it, especially after the Stride Breaker nerfs. Darius was certainly hurt, and we... Or is this patch the one that Darius was buffed on?
Yeah,
Yes.
we are on live patch 11.13.
Yes.
I just don't know how this Darius gets into them.
But again, yes, you see these Morgana coming out, the Lee Sin kick. I mean, one thing though is still that it's just, to me, I still believe that Dad's After Dark has a little bit more coherent comp. It's easier to play. Yes, Ziggs is simple. Yes, Morgana is straightforward. But at the same time, it still seems all over the place. Whereas Dad's After Dark have a, we press R, we go. You have the Diana,
Yeah.
you have Hecarim. I'd like to actually see Blood take Ghost, but he very rarely, if ever, does in a competitive context. And of course, Thresh, one Destinus lands that's not spell shielded. Into
Yeah,
that comp, it's
they are just
lights
dead.
out. You have the
I
scaling Ezreal.
I'm not sure how practiced Rook Stout is on the Hecarim. Obviously, the champ has been changed a good bit past couple ever since preseason. Really, he's been completely reworked basically to how he initially really wanted to take Conqueror, into now he wants to really take Phase Rush, and now back to Conqueror against most comps. But
Well, and
yeah,
not to mention, one important thing is the relative lack of any AD damage on the side of Team Jungle Control. You really look at Tranimal as this Lee Sin is the only threat of AD damage. Volibear being more of that tank and most of his base damage is being an AP. I'm being told that Rook is incredibly comfortable in the Hecarim, so we'll see how that goes in his hands, as Lil Garrett has had mixed performances on in the past 2 games. But it will be interesting to see. Luckily, there's no Mundo. There's no threat of a massive AP tank, which honestly might have been fantastic for Blood, looking at that 5th counter pick, but he definitely wants to have that carry impact for himself on this table.
yeah, Mundo would have just done an absolute number against double AP,
I mean, they have
especially
really
against the
triple.
Morgana.
They have triple AP
Yeah, they
plus the
have
Volibear base
triple
damages.
AP.
It's certainly hard here. But at the same time, had he not, the wave clear could have been a little bit lacking on the side of Team Stats After Dark. With really
but
only the Diana.
what does your Darius really do for wave clear anyway? So
I mean, assuming he wins lane, assuming he has that pressure he has, then at the
Yeah,
very
yeah.
least it's more than Mundo, but he does
Of
have
course.
that range Q. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. As I said, I think it's much easier for Dad's After Dark. I think they have an advantage with how they've been playing on this comp in particular going in, or how they've been playing last game, transitioning that into this comp. But at the same time, Control's team is a team of comfort champions, right? You have Matthias on his Morgana, Control on Silas, and Little Garrett on Volibear, champions they've all preferred.
Yeah.
Ziggs, very powerful. We'll see if Tactics can keep up in the game and have a similar impact that Void did. And Tranimal, a good performance in game 1.
I think it's probably going to be similar to game 1, where we're going to be looking top lane a lot between Tranimal and Blood, because obviously Tranimal fared. Blood obviously didn't have a great start to game 2, but showed up a lot stronger towards the mid to late game to end up pushing his team to the win. Tranimal can generate another advantage on this Lee Sin.
If it's anything like game 1, we won't be looking at just top, we'll be looking everywhere as fights just continuously broke out. And last game looked to be a little bit slower, so it'll be interesting to see how it really, or if this is going to be a middle of the ground road, or middle of the ground game. Sorry, it is July 5th. I am getting tired from yesterday, but you know, happens to everyone eventually.
Yeah. No, definitely. But yeah, we will be getting into game quite shortly. We'll see We'll see what everybody opted for summoner spell-wise. Obviously, we're assuming blood over the
Oh, good
ghost.
TP. Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, I would have really liked to see that ghost, but I think you'll still have a pretty decent time. If you can get that Stride Breaker slow onto multiple people, they're as good as dead.
I agree. This is pre-nerf Stride Breaker at least. So you're gonna pre-nerf slow Stride Breaker. So it's gonna be interesting to see whether the impact if he does get on.
Mm.
Also, jungle starts is gonna be fascinating with the fact that Ziggs and Morgana should have almost complete control and pressure of this early game. See if little Garrett does end up pathing down there, which I think is a little bit safer to assume they will have control for the scuttle. Whereas the Tranimal Darius matchup or the Lee Sin Darius matchup might be a little bit more risky in a 1v1 or 2v2. And it looks like both teams that'll need a little bit more time to figure out their game plan. Tactical pause.
Indeed. In terms of ultimates on the board, I think Control can really get a lot of value out of a lot of the ultimates, obviously outside of the Darius, from the side of Team Dads After Dark.
Definitely. That Diana ultimate, he also has more ways to really get into the fight, not being against that Morgana.
Yeah,
We'll
the
see if the
Diana
fresh
ultimate.
flay we'll see if the fresh flays can really keep him out of that fight.
Yeah, obviously, Swiss pretty decent at this champion. He's okay.
Yeah, so far. He's definitely a top 8 Thresh of all supports, right, guys? I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think top 8 Thresh in the league is pretty safe. Oh, but he hasn't seen my Thresh, so you never know.
I don't know about top 7. That's pushing it, but
Yeah, let's not be too crazy here. As it looks like we're gonna get our normal 5-point start, as
and
per
so I know
usual.
District definitely looking like the best Thresh by far. I'm
Yeah,
surprised more teams aren't trying to take him off of his comfort champion as he has consistently powerful and impactful performances on it.
he obviously fared alright in the Braum game, but Thresh is just... There's never been a game I've seen him on where I've thought, this guy isn't playing well. He's always playing extremely proficient. He's obviously very comfortable with all the disengage abilities like his flay, the box. Hey, I just think more people should be denying the guy the champion.
Yep. Now, of course, the alternative is what they did and elect for that preemptive Morgana counter
Gonna
pick.
pick, yeah.
And I find the exhaust interesting. It makes a lot of sense as far as if they believe Blood and Void are primary carries here, which I would tend to agree they are. Another
Yeah,
triple
safe.
TP coming out. And that's quite interesting. I don't know if I prefer. I mean, Ziggs, the mage bot lanes generally take that TP. Combat summoner spells or perhaps defensive summoner spells, perhaps useful with how they've been playing these lanes quite aggressively. Especially now that they should have priority constantly in this lane. But of course, teleport being the meta is no problem.
Yeah. I feel like the utilization of those TPs wasn't as great as I would have loved to see last game.
I agree, especially as we got in that mid game. So we'll see if this game can be any better. Interestingly, we've gone from split side junglers to symmetric bot side jungle clears, and to now we have symmetric top to bot.
Symmetric top to bot clears. It just keeps changing. You never know what you're gonna get. Both these junglers gonna meet on this bot lane scuttle.
Hecarim not doing a 6 camp clear here. I wonder if there's a plan behind that, or if he's just sticking with a comfort 5 camp. I think it's interesting as Hecarim usually prefers that 6 camp full clear.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting. When you do that 6 camp clear on Hecarim, you can do your Gromp and your blue buff at the same time. It's level 4. And it looks like we'll have Prio when it's all said and done, so I would have liked to see him do those Krugs as well.
I agree. It looks like Geronimo playing a little bit more safe in the top side against Blood's Comfort than he did in earlier games. Control seems to be ceding early priority to Void. Although we have an interesting...
Oh, but here we go. We got an
gank.
early gank coming out from Little Garrett. I'd like to see him go for the Q flash on Control here, only being level 2. Oh, and just the trade of flashes.
And that'll be worth it, I believe, at the moment. I'm not sure where he's pathing now as far as his bots. He's just going to wait for Scuttle top side before moving bot. Now, okay, I think this puts him very far behind on tempo, unless he's going for another early gank top.
Yeah, and it looks like he is. We'll have to see what this ends up getting him. As Blood looking a little overextended. I don't know if Flash will, and he'll just be able to
Yeah,
flash away.
yeah, Blood
Able
should
to burn
always be
2
safe
early
here.
flashes. Very well played. We'll see if Rook looks to counter jungle off the back
Now,
of this.
I mean, this should just be detrimental to Little Garrett's early game here. I mean, there's nothing more to say. He should lose at least 2 to all 3 camp spot side as his bot
Yeah,
lane.
Swiss is already pinging for it.
Yep. I mean, this is just honestly, as far as early game, like game ending invades can go, this is pretty disastrous. He's gonna lose everything bot side for the sake of 2 flashes forced, but only 1 plus, given that he gave his own. And now it's gonna be difficult. I don't know what he's gonna be doing for the next minute or so as he looks to get what he can. It does look like he'll only sniff out that red buff, so he will have a couple camps left.
Yeah. Would have liked to see Rook push it a little bit further, but it looks like he's just looking for a potential gank down here, as per is the norm. Tactics having that W doesn't have that E level twice, so he's not going to be in any real danger. So I think Rook's pretty much overstaying his welcome here.
Now that was a well-timed Black Shield. It's good to see that as the game goes on, Matthias is keeping his finger on the button. One thing I would like to point out, though, just to make sure that we're clear about Garrett, as perhaps it was a team call. I'm really looking at that topside wave. Perhaps Trammel was scared that he wouldn't be able to shove that wave without Blood looking for the kill. So his path top was a conscious decision to really give up the red buff for the sake of at least the flash and the sake of the wave.
Yeah, and a nice safeguard to dodge out on both. The Geet, the Q from
the Darius abilities. Darius
yeah.
abilities. Don't worry, PJ. You can be like the rest of us most of the time here.
Oh man, as Control getting some nice little trades with Void in the mid lane, holding his own in the CS advantage this time, looking to hold roughly a 1 if all these minions die as per usual.
Well, interestingly, this is really different than Void. I think this is one of the few times we've seen him off of the ranged control mages. I mean, he's had the Ahri game, the Talon game, which started off very strong for him, but didn't necessarily go so well in that mid-late game. And I can't remember too many other performances where he's been off and really onto these melee, trading more consistently in-your-face champions.
Oh, and it looks like a potential bait Hashinshin TP by Voidtech. I really like that, but Control's gonna snuff it out quite wisely. I really like the discipline not to go in on that.
It's slightly, in my opinion, I believe this sequence of events was slightly poorly timed as far as the wave was nearly crashing. If your support's already roaming, just use him to come mid, shove the wave out so you get to save that TP. Instead of now, he backs, he gets the Oblivion Orb, no pot, TP's back, and now he's in the same lane state he could have been in if he had back 20 seconds later after clearing the wave with an extra pot. With a control orb, with a pot. Yeah, now he's down TP and an inferior back for really no perceivable advantage.
Little Garrett and Blood up in this top lane. Little Garrett should feasibly...
Yep.
No, it will not. The level up plus the Volibear E will save him.
Luckily for him, Blood turning a nice 2v1
waiting for
early.
Little Garrett to run the...
And this should just be a secure dragon. This is the impact you really like to see Blood having on his comfort champion early game. Much stronger than the set coming out, guaranteeing his team dragon. Luckily, nothing else was burned top except for the health. But now dragon's gone.
Yeah, thankfully, Little Garrett was able to get that level up. It could have been borderline disastrous. Tranimal flashing away. They might be able to get this kill back as the Q's going to land with the volley stun coming out. As long as they can dodge out on that Q healing and first blood to Little Garrett.
Live by blood, die by blood. I think that as much as we praised him for his first play, you must take away for the second play. There is no world in which this is not purely over-aggressiveness. His team is on Dragon. He knows Little Garrett just showed topside, and he has the wave pushing back to him. There's no reason. I
just don't think there's ever a world where you should die there. And the repeat gank might work.
Right back into it.
And Little Garrett's got that ultimate a bit available.
I mean, once
blood shows, he's just going to go down.
Yep. Tram already shoved the wave. Exactly, and here we have it. Blood's fantastic play. Now just back-to-back deaths. He's going to lose double plates.
It's going to cost him a wave and a half plus plates. This is devastating.
This is easily 2 waves here lost, especially as he probably accounts for some of the next wave as well. The cannon gone.
If this dive doesn't go extremely well bot, this is looking like a bit of a desperation play.
They have all sums up on the bot lane.
Oh, the Black Shield is late, but a nice root onto Rook. But he's not going to go down. A bit of an odd TP by Control there, a little bit late.
as we
the
get
me-
into the pixelated part of the stream. Okay, and we're back. Yep,
the
so
true shot
overall,
barrage
it's one
stolen away from
throw.
control. He's gonna throw it out. Swing and a miss.
Perhaps a little late. If Control's going to take that TP, you probably do it immediately just to ward off the dive rather than after the dive is really already taken tactics out of the fight and out of his life.
Yeah, definitely.
But still, overall, I mean, I still give it to the side of showing Control in isolation. That being said, Blood is very commonly seen to come back from exactly these types of early games, still have massive team fights. So if Team Dads After Dark can use that kill and the TP advantage, or the TP that was burned by Control, to really impact the next 20 minutes or so, then, or even next 5 to 10 minutes, it's going to be a very powerful trade for them.
And this is Blood kind of exposing himself to yet another gank. I think he's kind of greeting for these plates. If
Well, he
Little
has
Gare
the
would have
ward.
moved immediately.
He does have the ward, he does have the wave, he does have the ultimate backup and the flash. I think he's in a perfect situation there. He knows Garrett doesn't have flash. And the only risk of a real gank there would have been a long pathing around Tribush or through lane, which I think is quite easy for him.
Yeah, another potential 3-man onto this mid lane for control. Wojtek has built himself a nice little CS advantage. It's about 8. 8 coming up for him.
Wave. Another strong lane coming out of Voy. I'm interested to see the Ruby Crystal actually this early on control. I would generally believe I'd see the boots. Also the fact that Voy's been allowed to really sit in lane this long with just that Oblivion Orb. I'm surprised that knowing they burned his flash, Garrett didn't repeat there after killing Blood twice. But now, okay, as the pinks show, I think the obvious game plan is using that Herald to open up top turret. Perhaps punish Blood one more time, get Tranimal
And
up
it
on
looks
the map.
like a 3-man is building up in this top lane. And all of those top camps are available for the taking. Blood, I really do not think can afford to stay here.
No, and this is good. He sniffs out the 3-man dive for the third game. Now they're going to be giving up plates mid for this. I don't think they even needed to move control all the way up.
Yeah, I think a 2-man dive could have executed this perfectly.
Yep, and now they're going to be giving up at least one plate. Luckily, they'll be splitting it.
But
The TP coming in for a prey.
TP. I
I
like
think
this
I'd
a
love
lot.
to see.
It looks
We'll
like
see how it
Wojtek
ends.
and Rook could be in some trouble here. Sonic Wave isn't going to land. Oh, but a nice stolen Diana R. True Shot Barrage. Rookstout's barely going to make it out. Looks like will Tranimal land this next Shockwave? And yes, he will. And yeah, he's just going to go down to the Kingslayer from control. Nice TP from Tranimal to get that proactive play going.
Meanwhile, however, though, Team Dads After Dark finding the 2v2 kill in the bot lane here, which is interesting because the fact that with the extra TP and Super Mega Inferno Bomb still up, I'm interested that they either didn't commit to that mid lane play harder or that there wasn't more used in that bot lane there. I'd be interested to see how that fight happened if you want to go back and take a look.
Yeah, if you'll just give me one moment.
Oh,
Man, we don't have any time to wait. As Tranimal's looking for another fight onto Blood. Blood's going to be in a lot of trouble here once Foley comes in and stuns him. It looks like he's just going to get chain stunned and go down.
Oh, but he misses. He misses the shockwave. It's going to be a 1v2.
Wonders the Sonic Wave. Oh, it's not going to be a 1v2 because Control is here to clean up Blood. He's out of mana.
Okay, he's out of mana.
Nothing really given.
And a flash.
There's
Okay.
no need to flash there.
This is the passive buff known as Blood's summoner name on top of his head, where they assume that there is more available than the champion has. There's nothing left. You have control. Play it slowly. There's no risk. But, of course, Blood playing it fantastically well relative to Tranimal missing the shockwave to find the 1v1 and draw the pressure top lane while that dragon is spawning.
As Wojtek shouldn't be in too much trouble here. Has that ultimate available. Maybe able to turn this because he's got that anti-heal. Little Garrett looks like he's going to go down for that, and Rookstout going to pick up that shutdown as a pause coming out, as I believe Little Garrett's PayPal was going crazy from all the transactions he was sending.
Luckily, he has his Venmo history set to private, so we can't be too sure there.
Okay.
But at the same time, I do, like, while it was great up until they took that top lane turret, if you want to take that top lane turret that easily or that quickly, it's to get yourselves on the map. Right, this dragon was spawning in 45 seconds. If you're going to look for that 2v1 top, then you know you're giving up that bot lane prio. Yes, they misplayed it. Yes, they probably should have had the kill. But as it stands, once again, we're moving into this second drag. And it just gives Team Dads After Dark everything they need. Little Garrett showing up mid and being immediately taken down after the fact means that this is just going to go over. With very little. And the shutdown going over to, looks like Rookstout as well.
Yeah, Rookstout was able to pick it up, but a nice onslaught of shadows stolen by control there is going to pick up Wojtek. And power shifts hands yet again.
They gave me time to think just to be immediately proven wrong as Control grabs the car and comes flying in.
And it
So
looks
now,
like the
once
death
again,
timers. Actually, this isn't super bad for the side of Team Dads After Dark, with Wojtek still having that teleport available, but no ultimate. So we'll have to see what
but
ends up
now
happening.
Blood doesn't seem to be moving at all as we freeze for a second there. I'm almost surprised Blood didn't move for this after, but of course, it's just the first dragon coming out. It's not the earliest Ocean Soul that teams love to see for the laning influence that it has. And now it's going to go back and forth a little bit here. I'm a little surprised they're not moving more. Perhaps looking to
Yeah,
just grab plate.
I think you just commit to this dragon, and it looks like Swiss could be in some trouble here. As the Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike lands, Onslaught of Shadows from Brookstout. It looks like he's going to go down for that aggression. As a teleport in from Wojtek, just fresh off that last death, doesn't have his ultimate available, so he's not going to have a huge impact in this fight. Spurg having virtually everything available to him outside of the heal, but I just don't think he'll be able to do much. And I think he's just getting a little over ambitious. And just a single, yeah, just the Kingslayer is going to come out and knock him down, and he loses his flash as well.
Now, the only word for it, though, is confusing, right? Like, consistently. Blood is sitting top for 40 seconds. Alone, not a problem. You decide to give up Dragon. There are waves crashing mid, there are waves bot. You waste the gold and XP to, what, for a 4v5 play that you take and then lose more out on? Now you lose the kills. Now you lose another plate here.
Yeah,
Either
it's just
the
a real head
communication
scratcher and a potential because of the Tactics Satchel Charge passive.
So luckily, its plates go down in 10 seconds, but you are correct. I walk up for... No, they're not going to take
Barrage does not hit.
No, so they're going to just miss that plate, that last... Or that third plate they could have
last 180 gold, as Blood was able to pick up that full tower with all platings in that top lane.
Exactly. So Blood will have gotten a massive advantage for his trouble. But we'll see if the shutdowns given under control will be good enough for him to have a massive...
Well, the crazy part about Blood spending all that time in the side lane is it's only a 400 gold deficit now to show for it.
Right.
Before that, I'd imagine...
I mean, Tranimal sitting here comfy on the 100% KP right now. Somehow, shockwaves don't apparently matter when you're trying to take down kills.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
You
no,
don't actually need to hit Lee Sin Qs to get my old Lee Sin play. The crab is going to be picked up for the side of Team Team Dads After Dark. And I'd really
post 15.
Yeah, I'd really not like to see a fight over this late Rift Herald.
Just shove mid.
Yeah, just shove mid and take the tower with Ziggs.
Exactly. You can look to take the tower, force them to split. Again, just grab the standing XP and gold. You're not going to contest this. There's no matter how much you want to, you're going to sit there and not contest it. Make the team decision to take what you can instead of watching yourself give up what you must. But it's gone. There's not going to be much gain from it with plates being down. I'd expect him to open up mid here soon.
Yeah,
or
the Herald.
Blood
solo takes the Herald, and I'm really not a huge fan of this take from him because I think it's incredibly difficult to push against Ziggs, and I don't know how they're going to be able to knock down this mid tower.
Well, at the same time, though, it is the biggest threat as far as individual threats in the next couple of minutes go, as one good fight or one 4v4 mid or 4v5 mid, and certainly Blood's knocking him in hinder. Right, so he has that chance.
Charge away. His control getting aggressive onto Spurg here in the bot lane, burns out his heal. Remember, he doesn't have flash available from that last fight.
Ooh, if that had hit.
Sound Abduct does not quite land. Dodging out on the Mystic shots. Spurg
now giving up quite health. Control stepping a little bit too far up here with not enough vision to secure this. Let's see if he
Control is a little over aggressive. His Tranimal's going to go down here too. Actually, pretty
almost
good kick. Might be able to get him out of this actually. Does not have that flash available. He does have... No, he cannot get out. As Swiss Army Captain unfortunately picks up the shutdown there. Mega Inferno Bomb is going to just stunt any push that was really going to come out.
And now it looks as if they're going to be able to grab at least one turret here. Seeing Control and Matthias sitting mid. Probably going to look to push that second one before backing here. At least a second charge for sure.
Yeah, Little Garrett does have that smite available, so he might actually be able to stop the second charge if he starts casting abilities now.
Almost. He was two health off.
Yeah, I think if you cast that E a little bit earlier, you're able to get a W with that Herald charge.
It was certainly mathematically
possible.
Probable. Perhaps.
It's very difficult to pull.
Can you auto attack it while it's charging? Can you queue up an auto attack move?
Well, you cast W.
And I'm just curious if you can actually auto-attack it. But I've never really thought about that.
Well, actually, his smite passive should burn it if he casts E earlier.
That is true.
So
that is true. Also, though, it is interesting to see that of all the kills they've been getting,
no, it's good.
You now have
it's
4
good
kills.
Objective. Yeah,
you have
it would
4 kills.
It would have burned it.
4 kills sitting on Rook Stout here. Only one on your 2 primary carries.
Gets that charge off. We'll see if it ends up making the difference or not. His control just dips back into the side lane.
With Dragon spawning about a half a minute, it seems Blood. I keep saying Blood After Dark. The team Dads After Dark, not to take away from any of them, will be resetting here and moving back to contest this Dragon control.
Yeah, Blood not having that TP available. I'd like to see them stick him bot and Wojtek top to get some side lane pressure.
Well, this Dragon's spawning too soon for that. I expect at least a 4-1 around mid bot moving into this Dragon, or more likely a 5-man.
Yeah, likely we'll just get the full 5-man.
See Spurg pushing out that bot wave, and now we have it. Tranimal sitting off on the side looking for the
Tranimal
pick.
going in on Rook Stout. Just a little bit
early
of damage.
kick. An early kick.
Oh, and
there.
a nice death sentence onto Matthias von Wells. It looks like he's going to go down as a stopwatch into the Soul Shackles. Doesn't have that flash to get out, and he's just going to go down. Actually, correct me, he does have that flash. It just doesn't flash away in time.
Sitting on flash and exhaust, I think it's probably a little bit of surprise, a little bit of panic. And now it looks again as if, oh, he's not Jungle Lee Sin, he doesn't have that sniper to steal. Well, it was fascinating. Again, it was a good look to contest control.
Oh, and I think little Garrett, without this outer turret up, he's about to just get R'd by Diana. Yeah, the Moonfall is just going to come out. A little bit of a confusing flash. Stormbringer coming out, but he's just going to get burned down by the volley bear. Oh, is he going to really make it out of this? Oh my goodness.
He does. Well played to him. He now grabs 2 more ultimates for free.
Yeah. And I think Rook getting a little...
Garrett is quite scared of dying. Garrett is quite scared of dying as he runs straight back to base without backing.
Yeah, that is the fear of God in him.
Now, of course, I have to speak about my
trading
personal...
onto Rook Stout, really getting the better end of it is just running in, uses that flash to get away. Control stealing away that onslaught of shadows, but he's just going to go down. They're just not on the same page.
I mean, these 2 teams are now patenting their never stop fighting. But just like last game, where it seemed like they were going 1 by 1, once again, I don't think Tactics has been using TP enough in many of these team fights as he spends the time rotating rather than moving. And at the same time, though, it's not him. It's over-aggressiveness on control. It's like they keep expecting that Dads After Dark are going to be able to make these 1v1, 2v2 plays. But time and time again, they're just sitting as 4. They're just moving as 5, taking the easy plays, easy fights, and giving Team Jungle Control the rope they need to hang themselves.
Yeah, and Death Sentence pretty close to hitting Tactics there, actually.
Pretty close. And so now, of course, one thing I have to touch on, though, is despite the praise for Dads After Dark, my personal least favorite sin in the game is the Night Harvester. That item...
Yeah, on Diana, it's
strictly inferior. It's strictly inferior to Proto Belt to Rocket Belt. There is almost never a reason to build it, and I certainly don't think that reason is this game. The extra magic pan dash, the damage of the bullets do just as much as the Night Harvest proc. Yes, you don't get it on everyone, but you're likely hitting at least 2 with the dash forward or the dash out.
Getting that bonus move speed when moving towards the targets, getting you in range.
Exactly. I mean, it's just
for your Diana combos. I don't know.
It's useful, especially on 3 squishy people already. It's just, it's very hard to justify, in my opinion, but at the same time, it certainly isn't trolling or griefing as some people would say I overreact, so to speak. No, the item is fine. I personally would like to see the Rocket Belt, but it just looks as if he's not going to be the one primary engaging, looking for the solo team kill. He's going for the Call of Duty montage here. The collateral.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like a slow bleed coming out for the side of Team Jungle Control. As all their jungle camps are just being taken away 1 by 1. It just...
And it seems that slowly, they've now built up a 5k gold lead for Dads After Dark. It's balanced. Yes, the goal lead is a lot larger than I think some of the gameplay for the first 15 or so minutes would have predicted.
Yeah, no, little Garrett getting a lot of early flashes and early aggression down. Really, the only issue was losing out on that red buff with a decent gank top to blow Blood's flash, but I don't know. This game really just fell apart on unneeded skirmishes.
Well, it's certainly they're only 2 kills down. Yes, there's a lot of standing golds and these turrets up, right? They get one shut down on Rook, and fortunately for them, a lot of that gold is centered on Rook, who isn't as of now one of the primary carries, although he will be doing tons of damage with the bruiser-focused Hecarim build that is now meta after the nerfs. But luckily for them, it's not on Blood, it's not on Boy. They have wiggle room.
And another thing I'm not a huge fan of, the double Sterix gauge on the sides of Team Dads After Dark. You're into triple magic damage, quadruple arguably.
I agree. I think
I
the
just
item itself is strong enough, though.
Maw of
It's a core
Malmortius is
build.
not a good item, yes,
Yes.
but when you're into triple, quadruple AP arguably, that's a ton of value.
I mean, it is good that Sterex, at least for the fact that they're both the primary front lines here, doing damage. Especially Hecarim, he's ahead. I like the bruiser itemization, the damage itemization. Blood, to me, the more interesting thing is, of course, he prefers that Gore Drinker over the Stride Breaker, which, yes, is fair. I mean, it's certainly not like last patch Stride Breaker, where the movement is just so valuable.
Yeah,
It's still interesting to point out. No problem with it. Now
yeah,
we
no,
see Ezreal sitting on 2 completed items. He is scaling strong. He's actually he is ahead with his 2 kills on top of Boy. I was wondering, and yeah, this is
yeah,
gonna
and
be an easy
another
victory.
nice death sentence onto Little Garrett. The Black
Yep.
Shield coming out a little bit late, but it looks like Team Control is going to go for this. A nice Onslaught of Shadows stolen away there by Control. Mega Inferno Bomb, but it just looks like they're 2 behind. As Voidtek's Moonfall is going to come out, Matthias goes into his Zonias, but he's just going to go down. It looks like Swiss is going to die on the back end of this fight to Tranimal. Oh, and a nice Q prediction. It's going to take down Spurg. He grabs 2, but the rest of his team is dead.
Now this is my problem though. So like, this is exactly what I thought would happen in Champions. Like, Team Chrono Control has almost no coordination with how they're trying to play these fights out, right? It's Control initiating this with the Hecarim on. Okay, then what? Tactics trying to get down consistent damage, but his front line's gone. Little Garrett ulting out or ulting in, trying to find this and just immediately having to turn, not having the time. And then Tranimal on the back line. Like, in isolation, it makes a lot of sense for the champions of how they're playing the fight, but as a team, it's all over the place. Whereas Team Dads After Dark are just piling their abilities, playing it very slow front to back, even if some are dying on the back. The split attention and split playstyle of Team Zone Control is just making it very hard for them to play these fights out.
Yeah, the communication breakdown is quite evident just for how
Well,
these fights are playing out.
and let me be clear that I don't think it's communication necessarily as much as just the goals of the champions. People are playing these champions as they practice them about, oh, Ziggs has to keep throwing down damage, Morgana hits Black Shield, hits a bind, pick comp. And just the playstyles of the champions don't really fit into the playstyle of a comp.
Yeah,
So
but
now
Cloud Soul coming up, not the worst soul in the game, but it's fairly useless. It's obviously valuable on like your Hecarim and on
exactly.
your Darius when you're getting resets, but
I mean, the ultimate
whole lot
reduction
of
is
combat effectiveness.
itself. Yeah, while not the soul, just the extra dragon, the ultimate CDR will be useful for pretty much everyone across the board for Dads After Dark. And let me see what they do. I expect them, to play around this Baron at least for another 2.5 minutes. Perhaps, moving into this jungle strong, clear vision, and then hopefully look to start it soon or find the pick.
And they're not going to go for Tranimal here. Yeah, no. Okay. I was going to say, surely not.
Really not, although I doubt they'd really miss out on it. I think their lead is such that they can take any fight they want at this point. If the Hecarimar hits an individual, they are likely not living to see the morning.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what you do if you're the side of Team Jungle Control. I think you just...
I mean, at this point, you look for the Morgana pick. I think you have to look for the pick. Try to contest on a Baron is likely one of their best
Baron
bets.
started out.
Having the debuff, having the damage, it could be strong for the Ziggs poke. Try to front line. Let him poke them off this objective.
And I've said it once, I've said it a million times. You cannot do Baron versus Ziggs. It is very illegal. Because it looks like it's going to be a full-on 5v5 with all the TPs coming in. Control coming in with that stolen Diana are a nice onslaught of shadows by Rook. But it looks like, stolen away. And a great combo. Will it be enough, though? It doesn't look like it is. The True Shot Barrage is coming out. Voidtek's still alive. It's just a 2v2. And a nice... Oh my goodness, everyone's just going down. Everyone's melting. And it looks like it's just going to be a 5-for-3 in the end.
And what a miracle fight, though, Team coming out of Team Strong Control. I mean, everything I was saying really proving wrong in specific regards to Silas having the Diana. The Diana are on top of the Mega Inferno Bomb, a massive combo. Unfortunately, some of the mishaps made it in the course the goal lead, made it almost but not quite enough as Team Dads After Dark just pull a little bit further ahead. Luckily, they did get actually only one shutdown from Blood as the major shutdowns remain up on Void.
Yeah, despite the massive gold disadvantage, they were still so close with their combo, but I just think at this point in the game, they might just be too far behind for it to matter.
Well, a little bit of that, I think. Had Tremel played it a little bit more slowly, he went for the big kick, which was great. But don't think I missed Swiss Army's incredible hook to flay him out of, or to hook him out of any opportunity of landing a bigger impact on that fight. It was really well played by him. But of course, yes, I mean, good on both teams. Team Strong Control finding their opportunity there on the Baron, and then Team Dads After Dark showing them that even though they have this lead, that doesn't mean that they can't just outplay them in a team fight as well.
Yeah, it wasn't quite enough as Spurg was able to play the back end of that 2v2 just well enough to become the better of it.
Sitting on heal to make sure his team all gets tilted that he didn't heal them when they died, speaking to the top side of the map, but using it when it mattered to guarantee he gets more kills.
And again, a frozen heart, I'm just not a big fan of this purchase. Wait, what value are you really...
I completely agree with that one. The frozen heart here,
what does it do?
Well, I understand the mana increases the damage of mirror mana, but at the same time, 4 HP.
Yelda's is just so much more valuable here.
If you're going for that, I think I would prefer to see the QSS as perhaps a Morgana binding is likely the only way that he is under any threat.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you have your front line, you're ahead. Just play it safe, and there's very few ways you can possibly really make a mistake on yourself.
Yeah, I would be very impressed if he found a way to die with QSS in this game, to say the least.
I agree. I think from here, it's fascinating that Rookstad is sitting in the spot lane, though. They're prepping this dragon in 10 seconds, so it does make more sense. I assume that Baron was the primary objective. But yep, so it looks like they're going to move into this soul.
I'd like to see them not fight for this soul and just try and sprint Baron, but I think they're going to do it regardless with Blood being topside.
They see Blood. They have 4.5 seconds to try to turn this fight.
Yeah, I think if you're going to go, you just pull trigger now, and Tranimal just goes. He gets the kick onto Spurg. Spurg going to get bound up, and he's going to go down.
There we go.
A shot is well played.
There was a lot used for him. It'll be interesting to see if they can still win this 4v4. But that's exactly it. I think that, of course, it's something that requires a lot of...
Yeah, two pretty massive ultimates burned. And we're going to have to look for Wojtek on the back end of this fight as they're quite clumped up for that Moonfall. See if we can get a nice little Lunar Rush combo and couple those together.
It certainly would be an impactful play here. See if they can continue to contest
Everfrost not going to land. Wojtek going in. Gets stunned up. Two-man Moonfall into the Onslaught of Shadows. Not going to do a whole lot. Little Garrett ultimate coming out. Tactics kind of stuck in the pit, just getting DPS down. This does not look good for the side of Team Jungle Control. It looks like they're all just getting murdered by this Darius.
And then this is really unfortunate because it actually really does look as if they found the way to play their comp, being able to buy rather than separate, rather than go for big plays, to stay and make sure that Tactics has time to get his rotations off. Unfortunately, I do see Matthias sitting with that exhaust, perhaps making a difference, but at the same time, despite them really finding out how to play these fights around the Ziggs and around Control and Tranimal's bruiser frontline, they're just a little bit too far behind. Again, these fights looking so good, but really just stat checked into oblivion by the fact that they were unable to continue that suppression on Blood that started in that early game.
Yeah, unfortunately, that Zonia's was up for Matthias, I believe, in that fight.
I mean, and that's it's unfortunate. No need like that. I think that there's just minor things, of course, across the board. But it is unfortunate that despite, I think, really solid, or really much more solid team play coming out of Team Jungle Control, that they're unable to make these fights in any more of their favor.
Yeah, no, they definitely look like a massively improved team than what we've seen in prior weeks.
Well, not only prior weeks. I mean, I think both now, even after the game they won, games 2 and 3, they put themselves a little bit more behind, perhaps winning 1 by 1, panicking, and then drawing things back. I think that it hasn't gone their way.
Looks like Tranimal is going to get caught in the side wave, though. Looks like Swiss is going to... he's a little late on the fly.
It's a great look.
Yeah, no, definitely a good look. You know, someone has really impressed you on a champion when you expect them to flay most of those abilities.
Exactly. Now, at the same time, as we praise Team Shonen Control, Team Dad's After Dark, doing, in my opinion, far more clean macro moves consistently across all three games.
Oh,
Yes, they come up with
definitely.
a few, but now they're finding these picks. Void just drawing this pressure top while his team takes inhibitor bot lane. And again, Team Shonen Control really stuck in transition. I'm not sure what they were really moving for in that top lane push, or top lane as Matthias, Tranimal, and Tactic started moving up. But just the call to give inhibitor is correct in my opinion. Can't
No,
contest
definitely.
it, scale, and go from there.
Yeah, you're just looking for this elder fight, and you're just praying because that elder fight could be the thing that tips the scales in their favor.
Now again, they'll have complete jungle control. I think even the Elder fight might not be able to happen. I think equally solid play would just be slow shoving this, taking what you can, waiting in the jungle, and finding the pick.
Well,
Otherwise,
given the handshaking we have seen today, I wouldn't be surprised if both teams somehow all five members were in the pit. But we're gonna have to stop there as we may have a fight getting underway. Little Garrett getting a stun onto Swiss. Lock into the Iron Solari is popped. Oh, and a kick onto Spurry. I would have liked to maybe see a kick onto Blood as he was the one rooted up. It's a nice Mega Inferno bomb. But Blood just looks so unkillable as Wojtek is just murdering tactics on the back end of this fight. It just looks like it's going to be a 4-for-1 so far. And it looks like it's going to be 5-for-1 as the bleed passive is going to take him
and so
out.
this is going to be the game. I mean, well played from both teams, honestly. Unfortunately, the lead from the mid game is going Blood's way, going Team Dad's After Dark. I apologize. It's not the Blood show. I promise. I mean it. I just always confuse Blood with Team Dad's After Dark. Fantastic job all around. Like, look at roll 10-13 on the on the game. Fantastic performance, really all around.
No.
Blood eating that pressure top lane. Boy, as always, consistently solid, ending with a 50 CS lead. And the bot lane, Thresh, as always, consistent and good, of course, no, but always consistently good. And then Spur, the Ezreal plays, some of the massive ultimates that I saw coming out of there. Just well played all around, especially as a team.
So, who do you think you have pegged for MVP?
I mean, honestly, I think this is one of the hardest ones yet. I really do. I mean, this damage graph shows it, right? I mean, everyone contributed massive amounts. I think that across all games, I think it's Void. I think game one was the only question mark, and even in a losing game, he still managed to pull quite far ahead in CS and some of the pressure. But honestly, I mean, I think it could go to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, for my money, I'd say it's probably, but I mean,
I
we'll
think
see.
you cut out there. Who did you say?
I said Swiss Army knife, but we'll see what Chat and Co has to say. And it seems they were let's see if we can get him in here. See what he has to say about everything.
Stream? Oh no. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Hey, great performance and all three. What was the adaptation between games 1 to games 2 and 3 that ended up turning the tide of the series?
Mostly just taking them off. Stuff that's just gonna let them hide, especially pre-6, just to get it abused in lane. I'm very confident with Spurg and his ability to just get every CS and trade super well when if I set him up. So taking him off Vigar and kind of making them play something a little weaker in the early lane that controls less space was pretty big in letting us play.
Well, I mean, that definitely worked. I thought for sure that you guys did a fantastic job, especially in games two and three, taking off those safe picks. Now, I must say, I mean, and perhaps this is almost bad, but are you just shocked people aren't taking you off of Thresh yet?
You guys
It
really
just
thought
seems
they
as
were
if
gonna
every
ban it that
game.
third game. Holy. I was so surprised when they left it
Well,
up first rotation that third game.
but believe me, we thought they were gonna ban it too.
Yeah, I mean, they picked Morgan to it, and like we played Morg Thresh versus Spirit last week, and we did fine in the lane as well. So I think Spurg trusts me at this point that even though it's technically viewed as a counter pick, there's definitely points in the lane and in the game that you can abuse it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
definitely. And you found a great job of finding those holes. You did mid, especially in that game 3, looking for control. Is that something you guys like to look for a lot, like shutting down other laners and going for that sort of strategy and tempo?
Uh, it was mostly in this series just because their bot lane was so willing to just give us prio that we can kind of move the fact that we have prio around the map. So I can kind of shore up what is a matchup Voithek doesn't super like in the mid lane, and this Diana Silas here, so we can get his waves crashing when he needs them, get his resets, kinda help mitigate the Silas's timings.
And I know personally that was one of the most impressive or most things that I like to see was the fact you were timing those roams in order to the best wave states and to be able to help what your laners needed, not just because you necessarily saw, oh, this is a kill threat or oh, I can just do this on my own type roams. So that was very impressive. Do you have any thoughts that surprised you or things that surprised you about this match that you really didn't think about coming in about how either you guys played or they played?
I didn't expect the Veigar Trundle to actually be as annoying as it was. The Veigar cage into Trundle pillar, and then if Hecarim is there to R into E into the Veigar cage, it's
Oh,
so
it's
hard to get away
miserable.
from.
It's so bad.
Holy.
I know. I think at one point after that Baron Siege in game one that they had, I was saying that if it were me, I would have been tilted into oblivion trying to deal with the Veigar cage, the
Yeah, it was
Veigar cage
super
siege they
rough.
had. But anyway, yeah, this is what second to last match now, right? You
Yeah, I think we
have
got,
one
Mid's
week
team
left.
Kangaroo Corral coming up next. Should be a fun series. I'm excited.
Any
Yeah, so
thoughts? Any thoughts moving into that? Any last comments about what you look forward to that? Any BM banter compliments coming out?
be careful
Uh
though. They did beat the Footlongs, so they might be looking for blood.
oh, dope. Well, we also beat the Footlong, so I guess that's the battle of whoever beat that team. The circle
Sure.
of suck can complete.
Circle of suck game complete. True.
Ah.
Well, hey,
Well,
Swiss,
anyway, thank you.
thanks for coming
Congratulations.
on. You've been great,
Yeah,
and
thanks,
congrats on
man.
the big win.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Well, yeah, I think that'll about wrap things up for us. If you want to watch more TCL action, we've got a big matchup tomorrow. We've got Team the Kangaroo Corral that will be coming on at 7 Central or 6 Eastern, based on your respective time zone. And that game will be cast by Luciv and Rudy. So that should be a great matchup to watch if you're looking for more TCL action.
Fantastic. Great to know. Fantastic games. Let's go to bed. Good stream, guys.
Everyone have a good night.